We're now officially live. The chicken of truth that analyzes the back half of YouTube finally realized that the blinky light means it presses it. And this is going to be an interesting train wreck of a nightmare because hey, I'm Adam and I'm crashing really hard. So, well, no, oh damn it! I was gonna do a joke. Am I baked or am I just really tired? We're now officially live. The chicken of truth that analyzes.
The world will never know. I'm Techpriest.
I'm so good. No. I'm so good that the live stream opened with hearing me in duplicate. This is how good we're going.
Oh, you also forgot to change the stream title.
Amazing.
So, about them Eagles.
If you couldn't tell, dear listener, we're all kind of dead inside.
I'm dead inside because of work. Adam's dead inside because he just naturally is that way, and I think Greg's dead inside because he got spooped.
Well, no,
bugs are not supposed to crawl on your face.
Yeah, he had bugs crawl on him. I'm just tired because I had a great day. Fuck you, scammers.
Yeah, he won. You got his money back, boys. We're good.
So let's see if this in-stream surgery will fix the title. If so, hell yeah. I like how we've been here for a minute and a half. This is how good we are right now, guys. It's been a minute and a half. Let's show you the greatest bit of art in this book, arguably.
Well, the greatest bit of art so far. There's some other really good stuff coming up. Fallen Blossoms has a fantastic aesthetic.
I love this demon design. I've never seen a demon personally because I just kind of skim through Demon the Descent. So seeing a full body shot of this guy, it really gets the almonds activated. It joggles the noggle. It's just a really good fucked up creepy design.
It's really good. You're not sure if that's wings or spikes. The arm is like it starts somewhat normal, then it turns into something completely different. There's the eye, the fact that the teeth are very human until you look closely.
Well,
the little tubes.
That's an elephant skull, actually.
Yeah,
very
and then
clearly
you look
an
at
elephant skull, which is the inspiration of the Cyclops, so it's fine.
Yeah. Well, it might not be an elephant skull because I don't see the eye sockets.
Well, if you look at the temples, you see how sunken the temple is?
Oh yeah, that's true. That does look a lot like an elephant skull.
I mean, it probably was used as a reference. Anyway, after the fall, the spider weaves the curtains in the palace of the Caesars. The owl calls the watches in the towers of Ephrasib. Mehmet the Conqueror, which I think I mentioned him maybe in a previous stream. If I didn't, he's the Turkish man that destroyed the empire with a big fuck off cannon.
No, the Theodosian walls, they've never been breached.
Ha ha, cannon go boom, says the drunken Serbian who also kink shamed a furry party in Thirsty Swords Lesbians. It's the same guy.
Yeah, actually it's a Hungarian.
I thought he was Serbian. Oh well.
He's Hungarian.
Orban. Yeah, Orban basically built a big fuck off cannon. The Turks were like, yes, and they used it.
You heard it here, folks. Urban wants the Turks to win.
It's funny because
vote
of
him
what
out,
the Turks
please.
do to Hungary later on.
Yeah, vote him out, please. Get rid of him.
And the mortal words of Mountain General, fuck Hungary.
Fuck Hungary.
So anyway, Constantinople was, it's the capital of the Byzantine Empire. And at this stage in time, it's going
fucked.
It was.
It's basically dead. So,
to give you some perspective on the situation here, this isn't the first time that Constantinople has been in this shit. There was another incident in 1204 that is probably
money,
where essentially a blind doge, came up and demanded his money because they promised you'd pay us if we won your civil war for you, right? With what money?
We're already excommunicated. What's a little more sin in May, right, boys?
Well, the Venetians wanted to get paid because they foot the bill for all this, and they were promised that there's going to be a certain amount of people that are going to come and pay up. They were stiffed.
So they took it. So they took their payment in a few islands and priceless treasure.
A few islands? No, they took all the shit in Constantinople and set up a little empire of their own.
Yeah,
that wasn't them necessarily. That was the French.
Of course,
they did take Crete.
They did take Crete, but it's like it was either them or really anyone on Anatolia could have taken it. And they just said, well, hey, it's free real estate.
So anyway, yeah, Constantinople has been in the shit before, but traditionally the Theodosian walls usually was enough to allow them to hold off.
Yeah, in 12, I mean, this is also, there was, I think, a time Vikings bypassed the Theodosian walls for a little while.
Well, yeah, we mentioned it in the Viking video. A swell happened that allowed Harald Hardrada to escape.
Yeah, there was also the 1204 incident where they let them inside of the city, and they burned down about 3/4 of it, which, pretty devastating. This is
funnily enough, this is probably honestly going to be the last time Constantinople comes under threat for a very long time.
Yeah,
for a while.
Sure. Actually, I think like the next 500
years? I think it's not until Russia marches their ass down here.
Oh God,
isn't it?
no! Russia's supply trains didn't even allow them to get to Bulgaria.
Yeah, it was
took
more
until
like
the 1870s for Russia to even come close.
Yeah, I'm saying it took a while.
It's more the collapse of the the Sultanate that really.
Yeah, but we're not talking about the collapse of the Ottomans. We're talking about the collapse of the Byzantines and their new order.
In 1443, which is a significant error there. That's about 10 years too early.
Yeah, they made a whoopsie with the numbers. The fun thing is that it's like the Roman Empire falls. He immediately declared himself Caesar the second he took Constantinople.
No one can let Rome fucking die.
Nobody. Everybody claims to be Rome.
I mean, it's kind of required at that point.
Yeah. I mean, it's to the point where you can argue that Finland theoretically is the modern Rome. Because of like it's a gigantic shitpost, but they have a better claim on it theoretically than some others.
So anyway, this is actually a demons book. We should probably specify that.
Yes. So the main thing about this is that among the crowds that once the sacking happens, and sacking will happen basically to every city in this area. Constantinople is no exception. The demons are there.
It is an exception because Constantinople, not only are demons there, but Constantinople, and this is kind of a bit stupid, but Tech explained to me how this gets better. Constantinople's been a major linchpin in the God Machine's infrastructure for about 1,000 years at this point.
Yeah, the God Machine has had long-term plans and infrastructure set up here.
For a while, it used to be the heart of one of the greatest empires.
Yeah.
And that's why the God Machine used its city as an infrastructure thing. And that's how Tech explained it to me. Basically, the God Machine doesn't do the old World of Darkness thing where it's like, Hitler was created by the God Machine all along. No, in reality, what happens is it takes events and it extrapolates using its superhuman idiocy what the best possible path for its inscrutable goal is, and then it just kind of hijacks it or uses parts of it.
I mean,
not even the God Machine could predict the insanery of Greeks.
Really, the God Machine. While the God Machine might cause certain things to happen, it's usually very indirectly. It will exploit it.
So in other words, it's just a piggybacks.
Because the God Machine's goals are,
as an example, you could do this one of two ways if you're going to be this awful. Hitler is being propped by the demons because he's a big spite to the old establishment that the God Machine's using, the infrastructure that he's kind of using for the other old powers. Or the God Machine's using him because of inscrutable plans that it has 60 years from now.
Yeah.
And it'll do things like prevent him from getting assassinated.
Yeah, the God Machine does not give a shit about humanity in general, but it still wants to preserve humanity overall somewhat. Which
because
is,
they factor into a plan that like we don't even know if it knows what it's doing.
yeah, it is like the blind idiot god.
Well, it's a more active Azathoth, yeah.
Yeah, like
And
it.
in this case, Constantinople, because it's the most important Roman city, especially after the 3rd century, it makes one of the best linchpins for a powerful infrastructure network, especially since China has a habit of exploding.
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
yeah, maybe,
actually,
you know, like the song, really cool and all. I
hello,
know the
car.
song are cool, car. But anyway, the song, yeah, they're cool and all, but like China has a habit of exploding every 200 years, so not the wisest. Rome's been around for a long time, so let's use the city as the main network for this inscrutable plan in my brain. And it's
Yeah.
all working
Irregardless,
fine, but the machinery was falling apart by this point anyway.
yeah. But as things go, while the wheel might be dislodged, it's not shattered.
No.
And in the pieces, and in the chaos of the pieces, people want to establish their own orders. And for as much as demons like to be labeled chaotic, there's an order to them. There's an order to their workings.
Also, since we're kind of rambling a bit, by we I mean me. The thing is, even though Constantinople's been sacked, the machine still keeps elements of it, keeps assets there, because it's just such an important city, even if it's declined badly.
It's just not focused on it right now.
I mean, it removed assets that may or may not kickstart the Renaissance on accident.
I mean, it's taken assets and it's focusing on starting the Little Ice Age.
Yeah, it's maybe responsible for that, but basically, it removed assets that it needed to save. Any assets that weren't burned, it used as the nucleus for a new portion of its machinery. But since so much of it got wiped, demons basically have free reign and can establish whatever the hell they want. And it's all
They
thanks
want
to a bunch of turkey boys.
it's literally the God Machine retreated because of the Turks. The Turks will save us from the God Machine.
Like,
You
the
heard it here,
Turks just
folks.
had a big fucking cannon. Humans broke this machine, and the demons are celebrating like they did anything.
No, the demons are like, holy shit, the God Machine's gone from this area for right now.
Which they
We
thought
can
was
make hell.
impossible.
We can make hell, which is where God is not.
And the thing is, the God Machine in this period is pretty much like the current one.
Yes, it's still mechanical, it's still industrial in nature,
It's just
but
the
it has
machinery
to.
it uses is cruder.
It's cruder. It's
It,
still.
it's in the bait. It's not. If what we have is God Machine up, where it's running software update 4.33. Now it's running on 2.2.
Oh, I love this sentence here. The infrastructure using much more basic resources. That's not to say that the machine is in any way primitive. Its hidden infrastructure still houses grinding gears, sparking cables, nuclear reactors, and strange hemoglobin fuel cells. But it's more difficult to construct. So I love this because you could totally do like like a Turkish, like everyone plays Turkish soldiers or whatever in Constantinople in like the 15th century, and you
Or what?
just
We all die of radiation poisoning.
no, no. That's how it ends. But you open up like like this bathhouse that was built, and you just see nothing but like a bag of blood, like a bunch of blood cells.
It's literally either that or it's like the steam baths in Constantinople are really the vent for a giant fusion reactor.
And you see the crazy, insane infrastructure, and you don't know what that is because you're a Turkish
You
farmer that's just in the city for grain.
there's a thing that's moving up and down and back and forth, and it has teeth and it grinds and
I mean, they
it
know
it
what
uses
gears
black
are, but
liquid.
like they don't know what a nuclear reactor is. They don't know what
Yeah,
a steam generator is.
the steam engines are novelties at this point. There's a couple that have been constructed,
Well, I
but
mean, they're old Roman classics or rebuilds, and there's a
yeah,
few
they're
ones built by Arabs for like toys.
for toys, and in one case to try to make a torpedo, basically. His
But they're
plan was to
seeing this
stack.
big. They're seeing like a boiler. They're seeing like a ship boiler, and it's using blood.
Yeah, and you've also got to remember that demons are, by their very nature, incredibly paranoid. So, what if the God Machine pulled out for another reason?
What if it?
What if this is all
What if it
part of its plan?
realized that having a central nexus is not as effective as having distributive nodes?
It already has distributive nodes all over
But
reality.
what if instead of one extremely important one, you have like 20 important ones?
What if the grand reveal this whole time is that the Earth is in actuality the God Machine's porn folder?
Well, then it's up to some kinky shit. So the other thing to note is that a lot of these examples of very advanced machinery, like there might be a nuclear reactor where the fans for like cooling it are being ran by a bunch of like six-legged horses on a wheel.
Or the power source is just like an infinite-legged gerbil running a wheel.
Yeah. That's what we're looking at here. Like oftentimes the gears are turned by clockwork and all these other weird things. But it also means that demons have less resources to work with, because if you want like something that can act as a cell phone, you can't go down the street and you buy one. A demon has to go and find the right infrastructure, hijack it, and then use it.
Yeah, you can't play around with tech like you can in the basic game. You have to hijack. You have to actually be a lot more proactive against the machine to get that stuff. Also,
Yeah.
you yourself are
so much
probably
now.
made cruder.
But
Yeah.
not so much now because all the angels are gone.
Oh no,
Yeah.
not all of them. Just most of them.
Most of them.
Enough for things to be different.
Which is why the two big themes, and I like this, especially since a lot of, particularly online, a lot of the focus is on, oh no, it's the end of Byzantium.
It's like,
But
no,
it's also the beginning of the Ottoman Empire.
It's the beginning of the Ottomans. It's the beginning of a new era in the Middle East. It's the beginning of a change in the shift of how the world functions into the modern era.
This literally leads to things like the discovery of the Americas, because one of the first actions, because Constantinople's theirs, is the Ottomans basically tell the Portuguese
Venetians.
to fuck off. Venetians, Portuguese, and Spanish. Yeah, fuck off. You can't.
You
have to pay extra. You have to pay extra if you want to use our Silk Road routes to get spices, man. But yeah, you know those docks that you got from the Byzantines, you punch them for their lunch money, because that's the cool thing that the Venetians and Genoans both did. They like Constantinople's dockyards were mostly owned by them, literally, like the land.
I think they got burned to the ground during this
period.
They
got burned, and the Turks rebuilt them. And basically, they told the Venetians and Genoans, "Go fuck yourself." Oh, you're gonna actually try to fuck with what?
We want our massive quarter of the city back, where we basically don't have to listen to any of your laws. Mehmet's like, no, go fuck yourself.
You're gonna blockade me? I'm so scared.
I'm so scared. I've already blockaded this city once before. Watch me do it fucking again.
Oh, and you know that your little colonies along the Crimea. Hey, guess what? My new best friends, the Crimean Tatars. They're just gonna siege the shit out of Azov.
They're gonna siege the shit out of you if you don't listen to me.
So yeah, basically because they had to pay extra tariffs, and at one point, I don't think it was Mehmet. I think it was his successor. He banned the selling of spice to dhimmis.
Yeah, he basically said, no, you can't sell it to them. Fuck them.
So that's why the Portuguese did all their crazy exploration, because they literally couldn't access. It was in response to the Spain conquering the last of the Granadan holds, I think. The Turks
they were
basically
doing it before
in response.
That.
Okay.
The exploration of the African coast was happening in the 1400s, because the Mamluks were also playing fuck games with the spice routes to the Red Sea.
The Mamluks are Mamluks. They're the most incompetent Egyptian state that ever existed.
Yeah. I mean, they beat the Mongols and then did nothing else.
They had the amazing accomplishment of shooting their population down by half. By the
Mamluks, a medieval dictator, military dictatorship that didn't expand militarily.
Yeah.
But anyway, the big theme is rebuilding. Since the Turks now own Constantinople, they're fixing it. They're rebuilding the old dockyard quarters to be under their management. They've converted all of the church to mosques, including Hagia Sophia.
Yeah.
They're rebuilding everything in their stylings.
Yeah, they actually keep the mosaics and the Hagia at the start. It's only later on that they get plastered over.
But they're building in their own style. They're basically taking what they already had and combining with Greek influences here.
Yeah.
And by extension, The Unchained, since everything's changing the God Machine's infrastructure, while not completely gone, it did keep some assets.
They have a
Much of
chance
the
to get in
city's
on the ground
open.
floor. They get a chance at the ground floor. They're in on the ground floor, baby.
So much of the city's now open again.
Yeah, it's also that a lot of the stuff that demons had spent maybe decades building themselves, it's all gone. All the people you made contracts with to reinforce your cover, to hide from the
Dead,
God
fled.
Machine, dead, fled, or you can't call on them anymore because somebody else stole your contract. Or there's nothing to gain from calling it now because they're burned. Everything they own is burned to the ground. So like, shit. Cover identities, packs, everything, all those are gone. The old power structure is completely gone. Everybody
Which is
has
bad and good. Basically, there's a massive vacuum in the secret world.
Not only that, but there's a lot of new demons because when the God Machine pulled out, it basically said
Left
the angels.
so many servants behind.
The angels left behind are like, well, wait, you're gonna burn this place to the ground and rebuild us, right?
Yeah, well, a few of them stayed loyal because they realized, in their head, they went, clearly, we're the left as the vanguard to rebuild from here. Some of them had that question, and they fell. So you have a bunch of new demons running around because it's just questioning that causes you to fall, really.
It's questioning, receiving weird orders,
Double
or
thinking,
being abandoned.
Yeah, being abandoned. A lot of them were, and while some of them continued their work or got new orders, most didn't. They were either destroyed in the siege or fell.
Imagine that you have been a servant of the God Machine for 30 years. Your job is to walk the walls in a certain way, holding a certain icon, just this particular way,
That wall's
every 2
completely
weeks.
destroyed by Orbound.
That wall's gone. You still have to do your job, but you can't do your job. But you must do your job.
Oh,
but you can't
and your
do
icon,
your job.
it's gone. It got destroyed in the siege.
Yeah,
or
the
stolen by
icon's gone.
Turks.
Like, all of everything that you could do isn't there anymore.
And you're not getting new orders.
Yeah, and then the orders stop because did you displease them? Did you displease God? Basically, nobody knows.
I like how they fuck up here. I'm reading. It's still on the page about what it become. It said the Theodosian walls had protected them from Crusaders. No, they didn't.
Oh no, no.
They did from the ones in 1099, and they did keep them out then. They didn't keep them out in 1204.
Anyway, the other thing is possibility, which is the other kind of more positive elements.
Yeah, the possibility.
Because originally, I think it's best we read this. In Constantinople, the Unchained were forced to exist as parasites and scavengers. Basically, if you were an Unchained, if you were a demon in pre-fall Constantinople, your life was shit.
The most you could be was a king of rats.
Because that's so much of the city is locked out from you. If you don't want to be destroyed.
The God Machine has agents everywhere. At this time, there's no way to hide. Especially there's no good ways to hide. You're constantly looking over your shoulder. You're constantly paranoid, and you're constantly dealing with the fact that the infrastructure could be right around the corner.
Yeah, that's gone now.
Yeah,
and there's a new naive administration moving in.
There's not a lot that's going on either. There's a lot of refugees that are either leaving or coming into the city.
Mm-hmm.
A
lot of Turkish soldiers settling down.
A lot of Turkish soldiers are like, shit, what do we do now? Like,
let's settle down, exploit the city, have fun, play cards.
Stay. Yeah, or let's go.
Or let's go beat up some Serbians because they've been making noises at us.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, we got a new member.
Oh, yeah.
New man on the Discord. Hello, Holtz. Let's also not only forget the fact that that this could also be something very dark. This could be the machine having pulled out because it's coming to plan to come back in. And
why or alternatively, it uses the assets to create something more horrible, like the Protestant Reformation. Ooh.
It made some guy think that nailing a piece of paper to a church door is a really great idea.
Or alternatively, the demons did.
Yeah.
Or alternatively, he just did. Because that's one of the... Since you explained it to me that way, it makes the God Machine element a lot more... I mean, it has to be there, but, like, its influence is a lot more fun because you don't really know what it's actually done. So anyway, what's come before since God? Trash fire. We're 20 minutes in. Yeah, Constantinople was constantly beginning to break down by this point, infrastructure-wise. The Venetians did a lot of damage to the infrastructure.
Yeah. Let's also not forget that the machine maintained what was there. And now there's infrastructure that's not functioning right because the God Machine took parts out of it, or it wasn't fully destroyed properly in time. And so suddenly there's a weird blood-soaked thing walking backwards and speaking in unknown tongues, walking through one of the diamond quarter of the city and drinking the blood out of people's eyeballs.
And people don't notice.
And people don't notice, aside from demons who are like, oh, fuck.
Yeah, a lot of infrastructure is broken. And on top of that, parts of the infrastructure, when it's cut off from the God Machine, kind of becomes like a mini God Machine, depending on how bad it malfunctions.
Yeah, there's parts of it that might just continue operating, but now it doesn't have anything to feed out of. So it's like the nano machine paperclip factory. If you've ever heard about this theory for how a robot apocalypse could happen, it's you give an AI a task of making paperclips, and you don't give it any constraints. It will use everything it can to make paperclips, which will then result in it turning the entire world to paperclips because it is only told to do one thing. It will destroy all opposition in order to make paperclips. It has to nuke humanity so that it can continue to make paperclips.
Yep.
That's what's being unleashed.
And on top
Anyway.
of, like, that's just from the siege. Now it's completely fucked. So there's a lot of infrastructure that's either lying fallow, malfunctioning, or again, goes full cancer and just replicates.
There's also a bunch of reptilians, mothmen, weird cryptid things, bat squatches, whatever, flying around Constantinople right now. And cults. Don't forget cults.
Yep, and they actually explain some of the stuff that Mehmet did.
Yeah.
Yeah, they give a little history lesson here and then a little perspective.
Yep, a perspective for you as the demon. Because essentially by this point, the infrastructure was collapsing anyway.
Yeah. This is the last push over the edge.
Like, it was already about to explode. Like like Joel's Vinesauce stream destroying Windows 10 or whatever. This is right before he gets the nuclear button.
Yep.
Then actually go into great detail of the siege in the point of view of not just
demons inside of it,
but people.
And people.
Like, here's one of the Turkish sappers. What does any man feel in the moments before battle? You empty your head with God or wine or secrets, and put your horror in a box under the floorboards in your heart. Soldiers can have 1,000 ways to call another one a girl, but not one word for fear. There isn't even anywhere to run now. Everyone.
Yeah. That's the other thing, too. When the armies start to advance, there's the demons are... and the angels are lost because they don't know what's going to happen anymore. The God Machine has stopped talking. It's completely silent.
And the only thing that it's doing is removing mechanisms.
Yeah. There's then the Ottomans slip across the chain. They managed to get to defeat the Byzantine fleet and impale the survivors to try to intimidate the city into surrendering.
And in response, the Byzantium publicly executed their prisoners of war.
Yeah. I want to note something.
Was a mistake.
This is probably the worst thing they could have done in that scenario. Because they're going to lose at this point. They are completely cut off. The thing to do at this point is to try to negotiate at least some sort of terms. They do not. The only terms that probably would have been accepted at this point anyway would have been complete surrender. Like, absolute complete surrender. And death to the Emperor.
Which Constantine the Ninth, like even before then, Constantine the Ninth would have refused anyway. Now he has to.
Yeah. Yeah. It takes all day and a dozen soldiers to kill so many men. Someone to hold the man down, someone to strike the blow, someone to keep his friends chained sullenly apart from him, someone to pitch his body over the wall, someone to clear away puddles of blood and viscera, someone to wave away the blinding swarms of flies, someone to take the first soldier's place when his arm grows weary. Each cluster of soldiers spread out along the walls atop the Amanias prisons, methodically slaughtering 260 captured men. We were soaked by the end.
And yeah, that was a mistake. The siege continues to grind.
Yeah. The fact is
And
that
some of the pashas actually urging Mehmet to retreat.
because
And
this is getting bloody as hell.
Mehmet just kind of says, kind of yeah, kind of no.
Last chance here. If you surrender, I'm not going to sack the city, and I will allow you to remain as governor of the city.
Not only governor of the city, but they have the term. Oh God, I forget what the term for.
Peloponnese?
No, the Turkish term for province.
Bay?
Are they Beylik? Are they Beyliks? I know Iraq was divided into 3. So Peloponnese would probably be more than just the city. It probably would be like Thrace and like the upper part of northern Greece.
Yeah, he's offering him a pretty
or maybe
good
the
deal,
southern
honestly.
part, like the Morea. That's not a bad deal. I mean, it's a big demotion from Emperor,
but there's some talk about this too. Constantine in turn offers some concessions as ideas to try to maybe get the Turks to leave.
But that's the thing.
But he's refusing. Mehmet's saying, no, you have to give up the city.
Especially since you're not going to win this, you idiot. I completely surround you both on the land and seaside. There's no reason for me to not have this city.
It's the death knells of an empire. That's as simple as put it.
It's the last chance, and they both basically say, nope, not going to do it.
I like the picture they show of
the god
cultists.
Machine infrastructure in the walls.
Yep. Also the cultists removing it, or it could either be it's actually it's the Turkish. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, it's the breach in the walls and the soldiers flooding through, and you can see the machinery pulling itself out
and they're
of the walls,
which is funny.
And escaping. Yeah, because their minds can't comprehend it. I love this thing about God Machine's Angel. Those of us who were abandoned, we had to believe that this was its will, that the advancing armies carried with them the tools to repair what it left behind with us, and replace that which was removed in the days before, which surely meant that the Byzantines needed to be destroyed entirely. So I should bend the ear of every soldier I touch towards honorable death and sacrifice. No one, not even one child, can be allowed to survive.
Demon actually, that's angel logic before.
That's angel logic, yes. This is just before the fall, probably.
Or maybe they never fell. Maybe they're one of the few that stuck
Prophecy
around.
Is a dangerous thing, too, on this 22nd. It had been said that Constantinople would never fall during a waxing moon. She might be wounded, but never conquered. So when the full moon slipped into shadow and turned the color of dried blood, the heart went out of her defenders.
Yep.
There was an eclipse at this time.
On top of that, a few days later, a dense fog, which is not... I mean, it's common enough, but this is unusually thick, descends onto the city.
I also love this another comment from a demon. I laughed, I think, at the absurdity that even the moon had turned against the humans around me, and so much of my work was coming undone every moment. My carefully curated sister killed herself in grief. One of my homes was torched back up to skies, all before the Turks even passed through the walls. Perhaps the God Machine was seeding Constantinople. Certainly the angels seemed concerned with grander problems than us, but the incidental wreckage was killing us just as thoroughly as a deliberate reclamation.
And that's the thing, and that's one of the beauties. Was this the God Machine doing this on purpose to call them?
Was this the God Machine noticing that it had a pest problem and taking an expediency to get rid of it?
Especially since at this point the infrastructure's pretty badly busted. Yeah, it's important, but a lot of it's not working right anymore.
And then after the fog, here's the next comment. So you remember the one angel that was once a shield?
Yep.
Finally, the Holy Spirit has abandoned the Byzantines. Whatever has lingered of its presence is gone, and our term as remainder is complete. If only I had time to search Bulakon, to reclaim any part of its body left behind, once no longer a shield. That's the angel falling, because it's realized it is finally abandoned.
Not only that, but it had a peer, like a secondary angel. Like it's talking
Yeah.
about a secondary angel that it then realizes. I would say it's the last sentence is right exactly the moment it fell.
Yeah.
Because
A day of
it attained concern for another.
A day of prayer is observed by both sides. Essentially, he's hoping that they'll surrender at this point. This is
like
because storming the city.
Literally, you only had 1,000 at the start. Yeah, you killed more of me than IU, but that's how sieges work.
That's how sieges work. We're gonna storm the city, and you're going to lose. We're gonna bleed,
Guaranteed
but you're going to lose.
We've cracked open your fucking walls, you goddamn idiot.
Not
It
quite yet.
doesn't matter. The end of the day is, as it's shown with the last bit, is so when the walls fell, the people fled, and the people panicked, and everything corrupts.
Yep, May 29th, the final assault began. And after weeks of bombardment, the walls near Blaterne finally crack open and Ottoman soldiers pour through what will thereafter be called the Tokapki Gate.
Mm-hmm.
The walls falter everywhere else because everyone's fleeing because they know that this is it.
Yeah, they're screwed.
And remember, when a city stands against an invading army,
especially one that is so hard to take, because they've lost a lot of people.
And one who the emperor doesn't have it, and one who the leader of the siege doesn't try to contain his men.
On top of that, these men probably heard from higher up that their leader gave them like 2 or 3 chances to give up.
There's no punishment coming. It is now the anarchy.
And that's the point. Terror follows.
2/3, which ends with 2/3 of the entire population of the city that didn't die getting turned into slaves.
Bare thousands survive.
City, most people are lucky.
Either hidden or
from
lucky.
hide. If you were lucky inside of a building, like one of the Hagia Sophia or the Church of the Holy Apostles,
you lived to become a slave.
If you weren't in another one of the buildings were torched. Most of the city was burned because there's no effort to contain the fires. There's just chaos. Everyone's stealing, everyone's raping, pillaging. It's anarchy. The closest thing that to the modern world has ever seen to it is the fall of Berlin, when essentially the demons of the Eastern Front came to roost finally where they had started.
That actually reminds me of a funny bit where, you know, the very famous photo of the Reichstag picture where the Soviets are holding the flag? They had to edit out multiple things on each soldier. Like, the one holding the flag in particular had like 2 or 3 like very expensive wristwatches that they stole from a jewelry shop.
Well, it's Soviet era photography. It wouldn't feel right if a few people weren't snipped out.
Well, no, it's not. He wasn't snipped out. The watches on his arms were.
Yeah, because that's what you did, and it's what soldiers have done since time immemorial, which is steal shit.
Actually, reminds me of another funny Soviet censorship story. The Grapes of Wrath was never allowed to air or be published as a book in the Soviet Union.
Really?
Because even during the Great Depression era United States, those people leaving from Oklahoma or so on to go to California, even then, even at their poorest, they still often had better living conditions than the Soviet peasant. So
welcome to Russia, the land of depression.
So what happened was they refused to release it because they were concerned that these destitute bums, these examples that they used to mock capitalism, since their living conditions were still somewhat better than your average peasant, they were worried it would make them look bad. So that's why the Grapes of Wrath was not released for a good while in the Union. Or actually, I think it might have been banned until the fall.
Anyway, eventually the looting does
takes
come to a
3
stop.
days.
It comes to a stop, and the Constantinople dies, and instead comes, as Mehmed would put it, Constantinople.
Constantine. Constantine.
Yeah, because that was the Turkish term for Constantinople.
Rome declared a crusade, of course.
That did
no
nothing.
One bothered.
The last one, which was the Crusade of Varna, ended in a fucking disaster. So, like, nobody wanted to...
No one wanted to go, especially since the Turks have already been proven to be somewhat difficult to fight.
Yeah. Like, holy shit, they're actually fighting well. Holy shit, they're actually governing better than the Byzantines are.
On top of that, I think they actually did hand Hungary a stinging defeat prior to this.
I think they might have, yeah.
Not a nasty one, since they were still kind of weak in that area, but they did beat one of the larger secondary powers, and they have definitely beaten around the other minor powers in the area pretty easily.
And regardless, as we move into Istanbul, which I don't know why it's called Istanbul, they're calling it Istanbul.
It wasn't until the 20th century.
Yeah.
It's Istanbul, not Constantinople. It's no one's business about the Turks.
But at the moment, the Turks aren't calling it Istanbul. So
yeah.
Regardless, they skip over a lot of history because it's just not relevant to
this time period.
It's relevant to the history of the Ottomans, but it's not relevant to the history of the city, which is what this. But let's be fair, that is what this thing is about. It's not about Istanbul. It's the story of this is not really supposed to be focused on the Turks and everything. It's
about
focused
the
on the city.
wreck of a city and what you're going to do with it. Also, I kind of like how they mention, because I didn't know this until now. It turned out that the crazy bastard Mehmed actually landed on Otranto. They actually got into Italy. I didn't know
he landed on Italy. He crossed because he's like, fuck it, I'm going to take out Rome because this son of a bitch keeps calling his goddamn crazies to come and kill me. I need to get rid of him.
I think it was also to outdo the Seljuks by saying they called themselves the Rome Sultanate. Well, I'll be the Sultan that takes Rome.
Yeah.
Well, there's actually in some of the relevant things today that I looked through this. Some of the relevant things is actually first off the fleeing of the intellectuals and the taking in of the Spanish Jews.
Yes,
because it's supposed to represent well, when as opportunities leave, new opportunities enter. The Greek, all those classical philosophers are gone, but now we've got Jewish merchants
and conversos, the converted Andalusians.
It's also important to note that the Jews in the Ottoman Empire always had a weird privileges compared to other religious minorities. Mostly because they were insular, they kept to themselves, and they didn't complain too much.
Yeah, to give you an idea, they actually came as far as I think they ruled. At one point, there's like the equivalent. I forget again. I'm just gonna call it the Beylik. I forget the term for the actual province term. I think they had a guy, like a Jewish man, actually ran the Galilee province
for a while. I think that's true. The Ottomans are a weird example of tolerance and intolerance all at the same time.
Well, I think it can be accurately described with the word intolerance. Tolerance.
The Jewish people are hated by the Catholics, and they don't cause trouble in the empire.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay. Tolerance does not mean respect. It merely means they allow you to exist.
Yeah. Okay. So the great and spooky one has informed us. It is Vilayet is the Turkish word for province.
Vilayet. Thank you. I was struggling to remember the term.
It's a fun fact, by the way, one-armed dude, about the Revenant in Doom. No, it is not the same as this. This came out slightly before Doom 2016. Or at least the art design did. So, who knows? It might have been influenced one way or the other.
Could have been. I think it could be either or. I think it was just convergent creation.
Yeah.
So, Games of Succession. When Constantine died, they basically go into details about.
Essentially, measures meant to both kind of restore some of the old order to prop up the new.
Yep,
Yeah.
and it
But
goes
using
into the
Byzantine
Ottomans.
princes.
And it goes
Using
into the
Byzantine
Ottoman
princes.
succession a bit. Sorry.
Yes.
No,
The
sorry.
It's also important to note that Mehmet, I think, adopted the children of the emperor.
He did.
Yeah, because they were distantly cousins.
Yeah. And their blood was still royal. They didn't do anything to him. And
You know, so long as they they stopped drinking the mead and went to Mecca, it's fine.
And actually, funnily enough, one of them went on to govern the vilayet of the Balkans.
yeah.
And the other one of his heirs became a noted, not a noted, but one of the major naval admirals under both himself and Bayezid.
Yes. It's also important to note that, like, before even a single home was broken into, the city was
shithole.
already
On
awful.
fire. Yeah, people thought the worst, so they've panicked.
It's also because the city had gone into ruins over the last 300 years.
Like,
There were sections of the city that were basically, they'd been converted into farmland.
yeah,
within the
because
walls.
Constantinople originally was one of those few cities that had over 100,000 souls. After the sack, and even when the Byzantines took back Constantinople from the Latin Empire, it went from 100,000 before the sack to something I think it was 50,000 before the sack, so it was already kind of declining a little bit, to 10,000, I think, by the time the Turks came in.
Yeah.
But regardless, as to focus more on the themes of the book, in an effort of reconciliation, broad amnesty was given to a lot of Greeks trying to get them to come back. But even as though who did, they found themselves strangers in their homes, as well. The city had changed even by then, with things being burnt and destroyed, and new buildings being put up in new styles and old.
And another thing that Mehmet had to do was he had to trawl his prisons, or trawl previous conquests, like former rival because there were other Turkish states. So he had to dredge the homeland too.
Also,
Invite
He also
others.
created.
They were practicing. They were already practicing the great art of ethnic ghettos and burrows.
The Greek quarter, the Armenian quarter, etc.,
the
etc.
Jewish quarter, etc.
Yeah, that just sort of started to develop.
He also encouraged his viziers and pashas, his major important people, to invest in Constantinople. He would he cut down the prices of building stuff.
Yes, he also opened up new markets, new mosques, new meeting spaces. Also encouraged sort of rebuilding of churches. He couldn't officially say that you can't build a new one, but technically this building's been a church before.
He would ignore new churches that were built, and the only time he enforced the no new churches rule is if it started to get bigger than a mosque.
It's also important to note that by the time that the city had been retaken by the Pelagios, the Crusaders were already selling sections of the city off for parts. And well, the palace was still around, but it hadn't been inhabited since the Fourth Crusade.
Yeah, it was just a burned piece of shit.
Yeah, so Mehmet decided, fuck it, we're gonna build a new one.
Yeah, because why use that old one, which was just a replacement, and the older one's trash.
And they called it the Cannon Palace, of course.
Also, as once again going into the whole themes of freedom, which Demon is a part of, probably the main authorities, the new authorities you'll be running into are the Janissaries, the wonderful slave soldiers class.
Yeah.
Oh, and another thing is, because of his efforts at repopulating, a lot of monster, a lot of the other World of Darkness critters oozed their way in at this point. There were a few before the fall, but not a lot.
I can to say what you want about the vampires, but like rats, they can see a sinking ship.
And also, since Constantinople was a dumpy shithole, you only went there if you were desperate.
I also want to note that Mehmet considered himself the protector of the Greeks, despite the fact that he enslaved or deported a bunch of them.
Oh yeah, and don't forget the genociding he did.
It's also important to note that he exempted the Jews from conscription. This wasn't unusual at the time, but it's very important to note compared to what the Christians and other religious minorities would experience.
They even go into how the Jannissary training's good. How Jannissary training worked, which is good.
Yes, because the other thing is that like people love to say like the Janissaries were awful. It was an awful thing. They were separating children from the prince. Yes, they were.
And that was, but they were still
They weren't-
treated and educated, effectively raised as sons of Turkey.
They were wards of the state. They were all wards of the state.
Yeah, they were wards of the state, and since they were being trained to be soldiers, they were treated very well because they needed the physical and mental abilities to be a good soldier.
There's actually later on families that would willingly hand over extra children,
and they encouraged
become
it too.
Janissaries.
Like, the conditions were like, hey, and in fact, that's why so many Albanians became Janissaries, because, well, Albania was always kind of a backwater even in medieval times. Not as bad as it was in like the 20th century. But you know, it's kind of rural and very kind of poor.
And
so it was a great way to. I'm not done.
Sorry. Oh, that was me just making noise.
And a great way to make a lot of. I forget the name of the Turkish money. It's based on like the Spanish piece of 8.
Yeah.
But basically, it was a lot more lucrative to just, sell your child to become a Janissary, especially since the kid would be paid a lot better and have much more of a chance. It's to the point the Janissaries, by the end of things, were so powerful, they kind of became the Praetorian Guard, and they could decide if an emperor won the trip to Constantinople. And more than once, they would prop up a fake brother that, wasn't killed, like the false Mustafa. That they did this.
They do a lot of things like that, yes. The other thing to note that they talk about is that the Pharaonites, which were the merchant class that was growing around, which would dominate the Ottoman civil service, were mostly Christian.
And on top of that, majority Greek. The Fanariots were, and they actually would form the nucleus of the Greek Revolution, one of the major nuclei. They were allowed to do mercantile behaviors, and they were encouraged because, hey, more money flowing into the Turkish coffers.
But stay in your lane.
Yeah.
They could not rise as high because of that, yeah.
Yeah. The Jews are also in a weird position because, on one hand, they're officially welcome. Please come, Jewish people, come to Constantinople.
On the other hand, stay in your lane.
You have to stay in your quarter.
On the other hand, stay in your ghetto, and don't ever talk shit, or we will fuck you.
Yep.
And that still
once again tolerance is not the same as respect.
And they even explained what the Millet system was, which the Ottomans saw themselves as a conglomerate of nations, basically.
So they allowed a lot of self-governance. As long as if you weren't Muslim and their case wasn't involving Muslims, they were like, okay, just handle it. Just do it yourselves.
So what goes on in the Jewish ghetto stays in the Jewish ghetto.
We don't care.
Which gives you a lot of room to be influential in these mini nations, so long as you don't rock the boat.
Gives you an idea on how you can expect Constantinople to develop. Since, as of the time of where you're playing this is post-siege and, after the massive pillaging. You're in a wrecked shithole.
Yeah.
Correct, but with a lot of potential.
As they go into daily life.
Yeah. Let's also note that Istanbul is actually a name that had been around for a little bit because it was a corruption of the word Stambul, which is like a Greek name.
No, it was an informal nickname given to it by the people around it.
Yeah. So by the time when it was officially changed...
Because regardless of how things developed, most people in the Ottoman Empire were illiterate peasants who couldn't even write the name of the city, so they just called it the city.
Because it was the biggest and most important city in the area, by far.
Yeah. Istanbul, not Constantinople.
The big city.
It's also important to note that a lot of the new citizens to Constantinople are from all over the place.
You got Kurdish mountain men, you got Turkish wild riders, you got Albanians coming in to make money, you got recently Bulgarian prisoners that were thrown in here. You got Armenians, a lot of Armenians. You got Iraqis. You got Chaldeans.
You've got surviving members of the ex-bureaucracy that have somehow survived and are like, oh fuck, oh shit, oh fuck.
Survived and are encouraged by Mehmet to stay.
Yeah, that's the other thing. He wants people to stay. So
Why are you running? Why are you running?
Why are you
So
running?
they basically tell him that if you wanted to stay and you had done something good in the old regime, feel free to enter. And it's just as dangerous as the old thing, but that's, for some people, just as good.
Good enough.
Good enough. There much of Ottoman politics was a high-stakes gambling game where the lottery often ended up with you dead, but the ones that succeeded made bank.
And another thing is, for the poor in this currently changing city that's starting from the ground up, nothing really changed. I mean, after, surviving the destruction and rage of the soldiers.
The guards were different. The guards were different.
The guards spoke a different language, but honestly, they didn't speak Greek originally either, since so many of them were Italian mercs.
There's also a lot more work now.
Because
this
guy's encouraging his important people into rebuilding this market. This agora hasn't been open since like 1304, when not enough people made it profitable.
And the other thing is that this is essentially for Constantinople. This is a godsend. The city had been in decline until the Ottomans took it over. When the Ottomans took it over, it exploded into relevance that has remained basically to today.
And that's more just, again, due to the massive decline of the Byzantines and the Paleologi not being that competent rulers.
And to shift it back to the demon focus, well, think about it.
Demons are like, holy shit.
Masters are gone. The slave masters are gone.
Yeah, if you scroll down a little bit there, Adam.
What, the Enchanter and the next... yeah, I'm seeing it.
Yeah, okay. Sorry, the stream's a little bit behind. But yeah, there's
just really happy stuff. And they're already rushing in to fill in their own infrastructure and to dismantle and reuse what was there.
I also like the landmarks. So they talk about, like, the Maiden's Tower is now a watchtower, where there once was a defensive wall. There's the Serpent Column, because the Hippodrome is no longer a place anymore.
Well, there wasn't a race course anymore for so long that it's just basically gone wild.
But the Serpent Column is still there because nobody can fit it in a sack. So
it was too big for the like even a whole regiment of soldiers would not have been able to really break it apart for hack silver and take it.
Yeah.
Who wants copper? Who wants copper?
That's the other thing. It's not worth enough to turn apart into hack bronze.
Yeah, there's still the cisterns, and it's the big area where everybody goes to get their water for a lot of these larger public buildings.
Yep.
There's the seminary, which is now the seminary, which is the 8 courtyards, and in a generation will become the largest and most prestigious seat of scholarship in the Islamic world.
Because it was a major seminary before, I mean, even in the decline, it was still an important seminary for the Greek Orthodox Church. But then Mehmet, when he took over, he formed it into a new madrasa.
Yes.
Madrasa being
and then as we go into rumors,
college. Yep. Sorry. So rumors. What has gone missing?
This is all demon stuff, for the record.
Yeah, there is a Roman woman with a strange gait and a severe posture who's looking for a betrayer named Felix. The matron Gofrakta will reward any news that pointed towards his whereabouts or identified any friends who might have affected his escape. There's
a lot of libraries were lost.
Yeah, there's also like some just weird shit.
Like what's been found.
Yeah. In 2s and 3s, clever homeless children are returning from their flight out of the city, bearing fist-sized mechanical devices that they don't remember acquiring, and most assume they stole. When buried, they sprout small beacons that glow faintly at night like fireflies. If you line them up in your eye just right, you can see the curvature of the earth. That's some fucking weird-ass shit.
Well, no, the weirder thing is, angels that are coming into the city on orders from the God Machine, maybe, or just interpreting orders. They come in and start losing their minds.
Yeah. The beetles that were once in these weird old ceramic jars all over are spreading around.
And they're
They
filled
seem
with
to be
acids.
Yeah, they seemed, and those burned by it report visions of a broken metal landscape, infinite and all-encompassing. They wake desperate to fix the broken thing they saw, but further exposure to the acid doesn't always bring visions of the same expanse. And when it does, a different part is broken, and they find they've brought the wrong tools.
I actually really... Because it's a little vaguer than the other ones we've done, but I like this. It gives you ideas on what weird hooks you should make if you're going to do this setting.
Without going into this is what happens.
Like another fun one that I can think of is I mentioned it. Like a pair of Turkish Janissaries are like really spooked by something they saw in the basement of the old palace, that the old Byzantine palace, the one that was ripped apart by the Crusaders, and they just mention gears grinding teeth, and you start investigating, and they wouldn't explain it, but if you investigate, you find, oh wow, this infrastructure is still kind of working, and on top of that, it's self-replicating. That's not good.
Yeah. There's a few other things. When Mehmet expands his new capital to what is being rebuilt, enforcing the mass relocation and welcoming refugees in the other, there's theological colleges built, mosques, public baths. There's also friction, of course.
A lot of friction because there's dozens of ethnicities being moved here.
Especially because while they got used to it for a bit under the lens, the Orthodox Christians are not. Some of them are not happy about this.
Yeah, the demon population's also in flux as well. They mentioned that the integrators, who are the ones that want to run the God Machine, are kind of in a weird state, because on one hand, all of their cool stuff that they built to maybe ascend back to God and be forgiven
to
for all their
machine
sins
enough to join back in,
they're all fucking dead.
And on top of that, this is like the God Machine rejecting them.
Yeah, so
and that's
they have
breaking
to
them in their head.
Yeah, they have to rethink their entire theology.
Or alternatively, running away to please come back.
Yeah. I like how it meant. I like how they're like there's hierarchy. As it kind of shows, there's like weird hierarchy and elitism among the demons. The natives, the ones who are here the whole time. Yeah, the ones that have been here the whole time is like, we don't need no immigrants taking our jobs and we don't need immigrants taking our faces.
We don't need no transplants trying to take over. Like, this is my garbage, like the possum meme. This is my trash.
Yeah, this is my trash.
Get out.
Ignore the fact we were invited.
They also mentioned that the Grand
Bazaar.
Bazaar.
The city's completely open, and literally you can get your trash and then more trash.
The Bazaar also becomes a very interesting place because there's a bunch of extra dimensional bolt holes that lead you somewhere completely different. Other amenities, hidden gadget workshops. It's a seat of the power of the Tempter.
For a second I thought that said Templar, and I was reminded of Assassin's Creed Revelations.
Oh. Anyway, they also talk about Wallachia,
which you have to.
You have to talk about Vlad Tepes. You can't not.
Let's just say the Ottomans aren't focusing that much on the city for a few years because a certain not Slav is raiding the borders.
Let's also not forget that in New World of Darkness, this is the man that will found the Ordo Dracul.
And this man is aware of the machinations of the Byzantine Empire. It blatantly says Vlad Tepes knows about the God Machine.
Possibly, in a way at least.
Oh, no. It says right here, he recognizes his country's entire social structure is designed to serve the interests of a greater power. A vast and uncaring machine. He knows. He conflates.
He conflates it. However, here's the thing. He thinks that his enemy is the Ottomans, not the God Machine. He doesn't know necessarily about the God Machine. He can put things together.
But he got two and two and got potato.
Yes.
Well, considering he grew up as a hostage of the Ottomans, I think maybe that's why he doesn't like them.
Well, yeah. I love the Chronicles of Darkness bit tier too. During the sack, some kindred,
Just
vampires
lost their
ran
shit
wild.
because of all the blood being
Others
spilled.
found it all burned down. The local kindred, most of them staunch servants of the Lancia at Sanctum, faced competition from kindred who accompany the Sultan's armies. At least 3 would-be princes are competing
Fucking
for power.
So if you want to do vampire during Mehmet's time, literal fucking Thunderdome right now.
This is the long night of the long fangs, basically.
Also,
like
things
the
are still
knives around.
chaotic enough. Things are chaotic enough that blatant murder on the streets, maybe not on the streets, but in the night on the streets.
Oh yeah, blatant
isn't-
murder. Like if you find a dead body, although since they're vampires, it'd be ash.
Yeah.
No one's gonna question it. Like if a prominent
Well, I'm not-
scholar is killed, no one's gonna
Yeah.
care.
It's
Yeah,
also
but I
important to
meant
note-
more like also saying like thralls and stuff like that, killing each other's thralls.
Oh yeah, like
Yeah,
if a Gold
a lot of
dies, whatever. We found that's another dead Turk or another dead Greek. That happens.
Yeah. It's also important to note that that Constantinople was a pure city at this time. The pure were the ones in control of it among the werewolves.
Oh yeah.
Now the Forsaken are here, and the hunting grounds are essentially all over. So you're now Turkish werewolves if you want to be.
And like the bastards they are, the mages aren't here to help rebuild. They're here to loot.
They're here to grab what they can and run the fuck away. Relics of maybe a dozen versions of Atlantis are possibly here. There's artifacts and grimoires from people.
Oh no,
who were
you forget
killed.
the creepy thing. The people that are looting, they're being stalked by a shadowy horror. Aegis Kai Doru.
The shield, the spear, the something else.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot what Kai is in
the
Greek.
Prometheans, a few Prometheans are probably wandering around in all this.
Yes, they are, because why not? There's plenty of abandoned buildings now.
Not only that, but the Clash Malim are telling them to go there.
And in the chaos, the hedge has become disrupted, meaning the lost have found their way here.
More accurately, the dreamscape has. Poisonous dreams rip from ear to ear. Nightmares harrow the city sleeping. The lost find dreams hostile, dangerous, and some whisper of something that is coming. Something weaving itself a body from the skeins of a mortal nightmare.
But of course, even as the city burns, there are some men and women who have taken up vows, and they're not going to let those falter. The hunters
Especially
still hunt.
Yeah, all these people go and bump in the night.
And of course, there is the Sin Eaters. As death follows, they follow.
I mean, look at all the dead Turks and Greeks and Italians.
A few of them have gotten back up.
And let's see, do they actually have...
No,
they don't. No beast.
They don't have beast. There's no beast.
The Arisen.
Don't
forget the Arisen.
The mummies.
Oh yeah,
yes.
I just wanted to see
This
did
is
they
perfect.
write beast, and they didn't.
As men and women of all faiths flock to the new Constantinople, some hide scorpion badges beneath their tunics. Many tell their undying masters of relics hidden in the catacombs and plundered by Mehmet's armies. Many make a pilgrimage to the great city, few realizing that all their cultists saw was a baited hook. There are no native arisen in Constantinople. The city belongs to the devourer, and our hungry children laugh as the arisen stumble blindly into their trap.
So, yeah, you're sent here to get destroyed.
It's a giant honey
this
trap.
is Mummy Thunderdome.
Mummy
No,
Thunderdome.
it's worse than that. It's
Well, no, I'm saying that's what they think it is.
It isn't. I love the art over the next 2 pages, by the way. If you change how your page layout is displayed.
I don't know how to do that, so.
I think you'd have to download it. So,
But anyway,
yes.
here's Vlad. He's fighting he's fighting winged people.
He's fighting demons, I think, or monsters of some kind.
He could be fighting the crown. He could be fighting the crown.
Yeah, he could be. But yes, Dracula refuses the tithe. He then,
nails the Turkish envoys' turbans to their heads for not showing him respect.
Begins impaling
Reign of
butchering
terror.
thousands, burning villages, and impaling the living and dead in geometric patterns around the smoldering ash.
And he does it by rank. And the advisor that was sent to talk with him has the largest spike and the tallest one.
Essentially, Mehmet tries to go to Wallachia, and he personally leads an army. Dracula poisons wells,
He does not make
redirects rivers, sends plague carriers into the armies.
he knows he won't win, but he's gonna make the victory taste like ash.
And on top of
Religion
that, he's even
is
desperate
nothing.
enough to convert to Catholicism.
He doesn't care. He wants to merely kill Turks.
They even mention his he almost killed Mehmet the Conqueror. Yeah, this actually did happen.
Yes, the
Not
fun
a night
bit,
raid. A night raid.
Yeah. The fun bit is that he then leads his army to the capital, and Mehmet sees the bodies impaled all around it. Literally, Vlad is such a fucking crazy person that he's taken all of his prisoners and random people off the street of the city and put them up on spikes all around it.
To show what will happen if it doesn't matter. It's not the question of if he'll win. It's if he gets you.
He then leaves Radu. I think I think it's Vlad's brother.
His brother. It's his younger brother. His younger brother.
His army drives the forces. Basically, Radu leads a noble rebellion. Finally gets
we made
the joke. We made the joke about Constantinople being a Thunderdome, but no, that's Wallachia. Wallachia is the Thunderdome.
Not really.
Dracula then ends
Dracula is so fucking unpopular because of the crazy he's doing.
But he'll be back. He'll be back, and then someone else will replace
1476.
Yeah, but
he's raised an alliance.
Yeah, but Radu gets replaced pretty quickly.
Yeah,
he doesn't last.
Yeah, Dracula falls in battle and awakens in death. On the next page.
Yep, it's 1476. He gets killed in battle and he becomes a vampire.
When the morning breaks, he is forced to flee from the blinding sun. As it burns his flesh, Dracula realizes he has underestimated the true nature and scale of his enemy. Finally, he names his adversary. It is God. God who took the Ottomans to claim his homeland. And turned his own brother against him.
Can you let him finish?
Sorry. No, sorry. It's just I'm reminded of like that horrible Dracula,
Dracula
First Blood movie. Yeah.
That's probably what they got inspired by.
No, this is sort of the actual original stuff of the Ordo Dracula. Is that he basically sees the idea of like this being a curse from God, and he's like, yeah, well, fuck God then. Like, come on. God, what has God done for me? Fucking nothing. Fuck off. I'm going to transcend undeath. Because that's just kind of what he does. Anyway, Mehmet dies in 1481.
There's a bit of a kerfuffle because there's Stembelik.
Yep.
And Bayezid takes over. They try to sell up the Janissaries, but in reality, it's just how the Ottomans do. The brother that makes it to Constantinople first is the one that wins, usually.
There's also the 1492 decree of the Alhambra, which boosts the population.
Yep, a lot of Jews and conversos moved to the Ottomans.
And then, of course, other things follow with them.
Like demons.
Demons, other supernatural beings known as the Sentinels.
Yep.
Which I guess is a coalition of demons and then others.
The first of many revolts.
Yeah. In 1499, there's many Saboteur crusaders who are wearing Janissaries as covers support the mutiny. They demand higher wages. This is basically a labor strike with armed rebellion. In time, they will become increasingly corrupt and dominate the politics. And demons use this to their advantage, obviously.
I remember, did you know the coolest thing about the Janissaries and how they started their revolts? I think it was like this teapot or whatever that they'd throw out of their main fucking chamber or whatever. And that would be the signal of revolt time now.
Yeah, it's burn the world anarchy.
I think it was like either that or like a big samovar. It's like some weird cookware. No, it was like their cooking pots or something, and they'd put them upside down or pour water out of them.
Jeez.
Like there was an actual ritual that Janissaries had by the time they were disbanded, where if they were going to revolt, they would do it. And that would tell them, guess what, Sultan? You're going to deal with us again.
The thing is that in 1509, earthquake strikes the city. Thousands die after aftershocks, a tsunami. Hundreds of homes are ruined. It's pretty bad. Of course, it's called the Lesser Judgment Day by the Christians across Europe as,
Because they celebrate the tens of thousands of deaths.
of course, of mostly Christians.
Yep.
Because there's not a lot of Muslims in the city yet.
I mean, there's enough that it's not plurality yet, but, enough.
Yeah. The Hunter Angels' attacks cease as quickly as it began, but many... Because the Unchained think it might have actually been a God Machine thing, or it was the God Machine taking advantage.
Yep, the different demons have different things.
Yes. There's a lot of discussion about philosophy and other stuff. The first Ottoman war for succession between Ahmed and Selim.
Which is bloody. It takes a while.
Yes. Selim eventually wins the war by securing the support of the Janissaries. Selim then comes up with the idea that maybe what I should do is kill all my brothers.
Preemptively.
Yeah. And also all of my nephews.
Yeah.
Just to be safe.
Hey, they're all claimants.
Yeah.
And let's just say Selim the Grim earned his name.
And
Yes.
also the demons are panicking at this point because, is this the God Machine?
God Machine.
Just spiting us?
It soon becomes clear, though, that
some
the
are panicking,
demons are the ones meddling because they're among the...
Yeah, some see. You say some are panicking. No, some are seeing opportunity.
Well, no, some
Yeah.
some are panicking, but the ones in the know what's going on. No, this is all demon shit, man. Those Hunter Angels probably were demons disguised as them, fucking with them.
Who knows? Nobody knows.
I like the idea. It's that.
It could have been, but anyway, the thing that happens is that Selim is short-tempered and short ruling. There's a lot of advancement though because he executes a lot of his advisors. So a lot of the Unchained are there's apparently an advisor of his that's a demon who's been sentenced to execution repeatedly, shifting to another cover each time and once again winning the Sultan's ear.
I love that because there's an actual expression. May you be a vizier of Selim becomes a curse.
Yeah, I love the idea of a demon doing that because it's an example of what you can do with multiple bodies and the way that you can use covers to go around. Also,
and the problem is, this is the demon thing because the Saboteurs basically have Selim as their puppet.
In many ways, the thing is that this is a kind of old world, but it also makes sense for demon.
It makes sense for demon, and they were not the ones that actually caused this event to happen. It's just they're wreck everything. It. Yeah, their wreck everything mentality is just exploiting a man who is an awful person.
Yes, it's also that they fear that industrialization will spread the ideas of the God Machine and help them fight it. So therefore, we must destroy the Industrial Revolution in its cradle. So the printing press must not be allowed. And of course, calligraphy is a very sacred art, so Selim declares that everyone printing in Arabic will be sentenced to death. The Saboteurs, of course, rejoice, because they believe that they've done it. They've stopped the God Machine, guys!
We did it. We saved the city. You see Janissaries executing former advisors on the street. Selim's like throwing a typewriter out with the head of a fucking printing press. The poor Jewish man who invented the printing press for the Ottomans. His head's rolling down the floor.
Actually, no. This is the thing. It's only for Arabic.
Every single one of the printers are burned.
Anyone who is in Arabic is the one that will have their destroyed. You can't print in Arabic. However,
Turkish is allowed.
Turkish is allowed, somewhat.
Greek is allowed.
Greek and Hebrew are allowed, which allows for the first printing press in Constantinople is actually Jewish, of all things.
Well, yeah, I mentioned that. That's why I mentioned the Jewish thing. They actually mentioned that earlier.
Yeah. They also make a point that Selim dies in 520. Leading Saboteurs are ambushed by the Legion, a strange hunter angel still active in the city. Basically, they try to blame the Integrators, but nobody really knows whether or not it's them or other Saboteurs who've killed them. So
I like the idea. It's just they've caused so much havoc. It was like you know, the who shot Mr. Burns episode of The Simpsons. No, everyone,
yeah, like they also make a point that
every
like
single monster was doing it.
they also wonder like if they killed him, like the God Machine killed him to put his son on the throne. And of course, nobody believes it was just chance. He just randomly got an infection and died.
Well, no, he got a version of anthrax, so
That's not unusual in this time period.
it's not unusual. But if you have a psychotic asshole as your sultan, wouldn't you kind of want to prefer to roll the dice to see who?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying it's a God Machine plot. I just think he's made enough enemies. I wouldn't be surprised if someone just gave him anthrax
We also get Suleiman the Magnificent.
with his amazing onion hat.
His amazing onion hat, his fantastic building projects, his massive charities, hospitals, schools,
and all that conquest.
And all that conquest. Also,
because here's the thing people don't know, may not know about Suleiman. He believed that the Mahdi was to come in his lifetime.
Yeah, so he needs to prepare the world.
He needs to prepare the world. All must be Muslim before, because he was literally a Judgment Day person.
Yeah,
a doomsday prepper.
A doomsday prepper with access to an empire
The most
and a street
effective
for building
military at the moment
in Europe. Yes,
in Europe, besides arguably the Spanish Tercio.
I don't know. Like, it's 50-50.
Yeah, you give a doomsday prepper who believes God put him on the throne, Allah put him on the throne, to prepare the way for the Mahdi.
Yeah, I love some of this other bit, like here, we're less fearful. Like, the demons are also convinced, absolutely convinced, that his architecture projects are infrastructure for the God Machine.
No, it's just preparing the Mahdi.
But most of them aren't.
In fact, it's just Suleiman wants to prepare for the Mahdi. I mean, some of them get repurposed eventually by angels using it, but...
And others are just infrastructure pops up because the God Machine makes it.
And
so
sometimes
demons just slip
demons, in and... like they run into demon run infrastructure, and they're just really stupid.
Yeah, infrastructure starts
because demons have infrastructure too.
Yeah, they can build it, sort of. They can hijack it, especially. They do that all the time. The main thing, though, is that infrastructure is starting to come back into the city. So...
Well, yeah, because Constantinople's really important again in actually prospering.
Yes, so the God Machine is coming back, and with it, the dream of a city free from the God Machine, of hell on earth itself. It dies. It doesn't die silently, but it dies slowly. In 1566, Suleiman dies. There's a legend that his heart is buried in Hungary in a golden casket. That wasn't what happened. The heart buried by his viziers is a gadget, a strange assemblage of clockwork that ticks and buzzes and clicks when lies are told in his presence. The story of how it came into the possession, the reasons for burying it, and his final resting place all die with them.
Which is just kind
there's
of
a seed
bit there.
Yeah, there's a story seed. The heart of Suleiman.
And then there's his son, Selim the Drunk, which actually, yeah, that's the funny thing. Selim the Second
wasn't a drunk.
It's mostly
let's just say
title because the only thing he really conquers, I believe, is Rhodes.
Yeah. But let's just put it this way: Suleiman, great administrator, great conqueror, great leader. Not a good father. No, not a good father.
That's the thing with a lot of these guys. They're like, I don't have time for a kid. Fuck it, give him to the harem. It'll be fine.
Well, no, there's also the fact that, I shouldn't invest too much because, hey, I don't know if that kid's going to survive when I die.
No, it wasn't that. He had a favorite, but the son that he wanted to inherit, essentially, he got really paranoid that his son was going to kill him. That his son already had plans to kill him. So on campaign, he had him strangled.
Well, also with Suleiman, in his brain, it didn't matter because, hey, I'm preparing for the Mahdi.
Yeah. They also have a link to another book, which is the Demon Seed Collection, which talks more about Istanbul in the modern day. But basically, they mention that Istanbul eventually has the God Machine's eyes leave it again. And a lot of the infrastructure in Istanbul currently is stuff from
built
this era,
on top of old, and it's built on
built
top
on
of the
stuff
old.
of the older stuff. And there's not a lot of newer stuff. The God Machine's plans in Istanbul are mostly to keep what it has there running. However, there are still demons, some of them who may remember it, that insist that once again the cycle will occur and the God Machine will withdraw at some point again. They also mentioned that the supernatural world is completely disrupted by this.
Well,
There's
in the
exiles,
area,
yeah, exiles, cryptids, other creatures emerge as everybody's rebuilding, and they talk about the agendas of demon.
And on top of
the
that,
demons.
the God Machine's not entirely gone. It's just mostly
gone. Yes. So the Inquisitors are the ones that are the demons that basically, a lot of them had analytical jobs before the fall, and they were monitoring equipment or whatever else, so they're naturally somewhat more inquisitive, so they start to look into what the God Machine's doing, and are often very paranoid.
They're
because
the
they want to
ones who
hide.
make the conspiracy chart from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Yes. Sometimes they're correct about it. They mention also that there are certain factions within these groups, like the Cyclics, who believe that the God Machine's absence is temporary. Mehep's army functioned as elimination infrastructure, wiping away old, outdated, and failed projects and providing a clean slate for the machine to rebuild. They also point that the Fourth Crusade was an earlier example of the same process. Essentially, the city and the world is changing, so the God Machine is reacting by restructuring it.
Which is
And
something that it has done before, and well, I don't. And actually, you could argue maybe that is the case with Mehmet. Like that's why it happened, because, well, the Fourth Crusade did a lot of damage to the infrastructure that was there,
and a
and
lot
it
of
never
it was
really
old.
recovered.
Yeah. They also mention that they're still studying and interviewing other members of the supernatural community when they can find them to try to find out if their theory is correct. Which is a great idea for a crossover game, is you have a bunch of vampires and a demon who's there trying to find out more about the past.
I'm just envisioning they wake up a crazy vampire who's like, and he's speaking in like old classical Greek, and they're like, "Mighty One, I ask you, why the fuck did you wake me up?" I just merely want to see. I just merely wish to ask.
Have you heard of the tale of? Have you heard the tale of Bofida? Bofida who? Bofid's nuts got him.
Strangles the demon, rips him apart. That was just my fake body.
And then he comes out with another body.
And it's like, fine, ask me your stupid fucking questions. And he asks him, has the city constantly been rebuilt and destroyed? And he's like, no.
No, fuck off.
It's like, I need a better answer. No, it grew bigger.
No.
It started as a garbage fucking town when I was still alive. Then it grew more important when I was up a lot more often. And then it grew really important when some asshole named Constantine thought he saw a T in the sky.
I'm sorry, I'm just imagining Constantine T-posing across the sky now.
No, he just sees a T across the sky and then said he was a follower of that Christ idiot.
Yeah. The Synchronous...
And then the Cyclic cries because this was the best lead he had, and the vampire is not active, and he's like about to kill his other body. This was not worth it.
God damn it, not worth it. Okay. The Synchronous contend the God Machine is neither omnipotent nor omniscient, and that it did not instigate the siege and the terrible sack that followed. The terrible damage wrought by Ottoman troops caught it by surprise and left it vulnerable. Its retreat was an inevitable response as it sought to minimize its losses.
Which would make sense given a lot of stuff was removed. The
Synchronists believe the current reprieve will end after the God Machine will recalibrate, which is kind of correct.
Which is kind of what happens, yeah.
They, more than other Inquisitors, insinuate their way into the Ottoman hierarchy, hoping to spot infrastructure in its conceptual stages, therefore hijack it before it even really has a chance to do anything, so they can direct it as they wish.
And then you got the adversaries,
who claim that it was a direct response to what the demons in the city were doing. Basically, we poked something important to it.
We're too powerful, they say, as they rule their trash kingdom.
More accurately,
like it's described before the fall, they were literal fucking hobos.
But what they say is we might have stumbled on something bigger than we knew, and poked the bear, so to speak.
Yes, the rotten piece of shit architecture that was broken by the Venetians.
Yeah.
This was important.
They're also
Let's just say that I find the adversary's ideas the most smooth-brained out of the three.
Now, they do mention that, like, the adversaries believe that the God Machine is going to come back, decimate us, and demoralize us until it decides that its symbol is secure.
Their beginning is wrong as garbage, but their ending, it's like the opposite of the cyclics. Their ending is accurate.
Yeah. Then there's the eschatologists, who are considered conspiracy theorists by even other Inquisitors. They believe the God Machine fled... Yeah, the God Machine fled the city to escape a cataclysm or some enemy of it. The other demons are like, this is fucking bullshit. Like, we all know the God Machine will cause
something. What?
Yeah, they also mentioned that the God Machine regularly causes disasters to fuel its projects or to allow for new infrastructure.
Like, here's a God Machine plot that I could totally see happen. You know the Pompeii and Vesuvius destruction?
Yeah.
The destroying the town wasn't like its goal. Channeling the magma, though, for
that was the goal.
The process.
Yeah. That's a very God Machine-esque plot. It's like,
in fact, maybe it fucked up partially. It damaged stuff that it kind of needed and wanted.
Yeah.
Because it didn't calculate fully the amount of volcanic eruption it would get from Etna. Not Etna, Vesuvius.
There's also, then the last group of Inquisitors is the Caged, who are basically Charlie with the fucking chalkboard and lines. These are...
I will prove that time is cubed.
Yes, they believe the God Machine never left. Its retreat is an elaborate deception intended to lower Unchained defenses. They fear the city's demons are being studied and cataloged by unseen angels, and that this is a petri dish, and they're watching us and experimenting on us.
That's not a bad idea, although you could argue that they're right for the wrong reason in one respect. Maybe the God Machine left it to see what humans and idiot demons would follow to understand the processes of free wills.
The funniest thing is that the Inquisitors are basically like, a lot of them are like, what's your proof? And then the Inquisitors go, the fact that there is no proof is the proof. And they just like slam their table down like, you're all sheeple. I know the truth. You should eat the horse paste.
QED, eat the horse paste. Grung, krung, smash the Beatles.
Yeah. Eat the horse paste. And what's the other thing that dumb anti-vaxxers are doing right now? Dying? Yeah.
Take off the mask. Take off the control.
We can't forget Live Torts! Live Torts!
There's this great video that Greg saw on r/I'm a piece of shit, where a dude sees a sign that says, please wear your mask, and he throws a 4-minute long tantrum where he screams libtard, screaming, you can't tell me what to do, when he just read a sign silently and no one talked to him at all.
Yes. Anyway, we'll take a break here and
take a look at beautiful chat. Sorry for the trash fire that is this session.
The beginning.
In the beginning, a particular hit by "They Might Be Giants" is nearly 1,000 years in the making. The fall of Constantinople was literally the God Machine's plot to make a song by a band.
Yeah. And if you close your eyes. No, that was the purpose of Pompeii, is literally that one fucking song.
No. The purpose of Pompeii is all we are is dust in the wind.
Yeah. So is falling just a computer crash? In many ways, yes. It's programming breaking in a way that's not expected of it. It's an exceptional error. And the Demon book is very good, the Descent book. I recommend getting it. I recommend actually buying it.
Stupidest of stuff that'll usually cause this exception error.
Yes. Some of it's also like a demon might willingly choose to separate themselves from the God Machine because they believe that they have a purpose in reality now.
Like, some of them they're more right, like their purpose, like they're given a purpose that they then think, I can do this better.
Yes. There's plenty that say that. There's some that question why they're doing it, and then they just don't.
And the moment they question it, they go, wait, why am I fucking doing this?
Well, there's some that might start to experiment and play around with their duties. There's plenty of angels that do this and don't fall, because they're pushing the boundaries, and then they find the boundaries and they push further. There's others that might find that they like the role that they're playing in reality, and decide that...
And they get a directive that mandates that they have to give that up.
Yeah, and they're like, no, I spent the last 30 years building this. I'm not leaving.
And then the God Machine responds by trying to Control-Alt-Delete them.
Yes, which fails because they've separated themselves from the connection. They've fallen.
And there's a couple other fun ones. Like, in this case, a lot of them were abandoned, and at first they try to fulfill it, but then they're like, but there's no
Why?
orders. Why is there no orders? Why am I doing this? My
And
favorite are
they,
the ones that keep trying to fulfill the orders, but they get no new ones, and then they realize that they've been abandoned.
Yeah,
That's
know
an
the
interesting
Mamluks.
twist.
Yeah, I just know the Mamluks as being a speed bump of a nation in Europe or Universalis.
Oh no, they can
they can
be either
they can be
extremely
big.
powerful, and on top of that, they're really clutch if you're gonna play any of the Balkan boys.
Yeah, they're
Any of
basically
or
your
any
West
of the other Anatolian Turks.
Yeah.
Anyone that doesn't like the Ottomans.
If the Ottomans die, the Mamluks will thug out, and they will be very powerful for a while.
And then they'll implode, usually. Mehmet to the Genoans. Free trade? Gotta wait a few hundred years for that. That's true.
Yep. Also, background of Demon the Descent. Yeah, I love that concept. I actually like it more than the Fallen, which is the actual biblical angels, where they try to play the edgy Lucifer was right.
Yeah.
That was just
3 days.
Just lame.
3 days of government sanctioned looting. Yes, this is not unusual in this period or even before it.
Before it, no, it was very common. Especially like if the city opened its gates, yeah, we're fine. But if they resisted, opened, depending on how hard the siege was, they usually determined
how long the looting would last
and how encouraged it is. Because sometimes you
Yeah.
can punish the men if it's like only a minor siege and they still loot like that.
And usually there would be minor looting anyway. Like
if it's minor looting, like, and there's a like the siege, or there's like barely any siege or no siege, and they minor loot, like, yeah, the king or sultan will ignore it. If it was like a minor siege and they thug out like they did in Constantinople, he'll start killing his own men.
The people will start hanging. If it's a really
hard siege, oh, he doesn't care at this point.
No, he encourages it.
Yeah.
In this case, Mehmet really didn't encourage it, but he didn't stop it either.
He was basically like, they deserve it.
They earned this. We gave them it happens.
They went Nanking? Kinda.
Yeah. Nanking is a bit different in that Nanking was actively encouraged by the higher officers.
In this case, Mehmet just said, do as you will.
Do as you will.
It's there's a very big difference between what was done and what was done in Nanking. It's
Nanking was an organized.
Put it this way, even in the worst stories, I don't think I've heard any Christians say that the Ottomans threw babies on their spears.
Oh no! Oh God, no! The
Ottomans were there for loot and plunder. The Ottomans were there for loot and plunder. They weren't there for revenge. They were not
cleansing.
Yeah, the Ottomans they were doing was that they were taking a city that had been denied to them several times before, and it was a war. Woe to the vanquished. That's the sort of looting that was happening in Constantinople.
The soldiers are pissed at this point.
This was not organized gangs of people going around and cutting open pregnant women for bets. This was not the amount of mass rape that happened in Nanking. Really didn't happen in Constantinople. People were too busy killing each other over loot.
Also, I really like Demon is a horror-themed Matrix. Actually, yeah, that's a pretty good analysis.
It is very there, and yes, Dracula does become a fairly powerful vampire.
He founds He founds one of the coolest covenants in Vampire.
Yes,
the Ordo Dracula is his great eternal quest to give God the middle finger personally.
Basically, to transcend the boundaries of what undeath provides.
You've cursed me, God? Well, fuck you too, buddy. I'll find a way to get around that.
That's the whole philosophy of the Ordo: is we are going to transcend them. We are going to become like mortals again.
Like, to give you an idea, a perfectly valid demon is let's just say you pick proper like demon names from like the Bible. Like, you're Astaroth, and you're also Alex Riddleman, the middle-aged tax collector that has a horrible failing marriage. But you're also Gregory Doyle, the local paper boy, and you're also Matilda, the crazy old widow. You're all of them at once.
That's the thing is,
and you timeshare with a sleazy car salesman.
Yeah,
for their soul.
You can be like 5 or 6 different people at once in Demon, which actually makes Demon quite interesting in that you can have characters just die, and you can be like, okay, that happened. And you can also use that in many ways as a storyteller too, because death might not necessarily be the
Death
end for
is
any
not
demon.
quite a slap on the wrist because you do have a meat space body, but you have what are called covers, which are it's like a virtual reality hologram,
Yeah,
which
it's
can
like
either be
you know how
personally created by you, or you can make a deal with a mortal and basically hijack their body as a puppet.
also there's infrastructure that will create covers, which is what a lot of demons go for. A lot of demons' first covers are basically the cover that the God Machine gave them.
Like let's use Trailer Park Boys as a horrible white trash version of this because I think it's funny. The
Okay.
shitmobile that Ricky lives in, like let's say Ricky's a demon. The shitmobile battery might be powered by human blood.
Yeah.
And it allows the demon who's playing Ricky to be Ricky, but he's also like Julian and Bubbles. He's the same demon.
It's the same person pretending to be three different
And the
people at once.
shitmobile that Ricky lives in is the infrastructure because it's actually filled with like gears, clockworks, and like pumps that he personally made.
Yeah. Another thing to note about this
The entire
is
cast of Red Letter Media is the same demon. It's just the building that the studio that they do is his infrastructure to make all the covers of Mike, Jay, Rich, Jack.
yeah, it's the cover that's maintained, or the building is actually the demon, and
Yeah, the
they're all
demon is the
stigmatics.
building.
This is a valid character. You can't be the demon house.
You clearly haven't seen that Old Man Plink is in fact an agent of the God Machine.
Actually, that makes too much sense.
Old Man Plinkett is a. This
Why
is why you
else
don't
would
see
he
him
want-
too much anymore. He's a compromised cover. That's
it
why you
also
don't see him too
explains
much
why he
anymore.
wants his VCR repaired. Who has a VCR now?
He's
but yeah,
actually
like,
a rogue demon integrator.
yeah. Alex Jones is an Inquisitor demon. Possibly he is, which is hilarious as an idea.
In real life
honestly.
or in game.
Either.
You heard it
Either
first.
way, it's
You heard
funny.
it first. Spread the conspiracy.
the God Machine, the government, aka the God Machine, is putting chemicals in the water to turn the frogs gay, aka to blow our covers.
The
No, it's
stupid
shimming chemicals in
nightmare.
the water to turn the vampires gay.
The stupid nightmare I did for the Sigmata Let's Play we did a long time ago with Bootstrap Bill. He could have been a demon.
Yeah. The
demon is really. You know how people talk about how mage is like very cerebral and kind of difficult to set up because of all the spheres? Demon's like that, but actually really easy and really fun to play around with.
because demon can be like several different games at the same time. It can
You're
be,
running on 7 different proxies and they're all people.
yes. It can also be Ocean's 11 and The Matrix and a spy movie and just
and instead of like there being 20 guys, there's like 4 of you and they're all just different people.
Yeah, you could definitely run a game where your job is to do that.
But you should not run the demon abortion machine.
That is a
a
mechanically
concept
viable way to cheese the game, okay? It is
Explain this.
rules is written. Okay. So rules is written. There is a pregnancy condition that was introduced to the fucking World of Darkness. The thing about resolving conditions is that you get a beat. Theoretically speaking, as a demon, you can make a deal with a desperate woman to take over her body, to add to your cover, which includes the pregnancy. You can then abort the pregnancy to gain experience points. You can repeat this ad infinitum to gather a bunch of drunken sorority sluts as your covers.
And this is why Raw is not the things suggested in the guidebooks is the DM is allowed fiat.
By the way, the guy that wrote Beast found this idea disturbing. He is one of the guys that commented on the thread, I think, that I wrote about it once. He was like, what the fuck are you smoking? I'm like, it's rules is written, dude. You created this monster.
Yeah. But a very simple solution would be
the God Machine notices this.
The odd rate of abortions in this one area.
The suddenly skyrocketing abortions just outside of Texas.
And because of that, and because of how demons progress, he's not sending just some bumbo angel. He's sending one of his big boys.
He's sending a hit squad, yeah. Because you are disturbing the nature of reality.
And hey, if all else fails, maybe even Dracula's disgusted and he wakes up from his tomb and just fucking beats you to death.
It's time to fight Cain, boys. Yeah, but Demon is very much like a horror theme Matrix. Essentially, they mention the Matrix as a major inspiration for like the idea of how covers work. between like the agents essentially.
And the concept of hell is more of a what is your personal final goal in all things?
It's basically hell in many ways is what you make.
Because
Hell,
you're split off and you're kind of in hell already because you're constantly being hunted by this all-seeing idiot god machine.
yeah, because it views you as a rogue program. It
Which you
doesn't
are.
personally hate you because it can't personally know you.
It doesn't even personally understand hate.
Yeah,
It just knows
wants
error
you back.
must fix.
You are a process that has become corrupted and therefore must be terminated.
You are the malware that the computer gets because you fell for like a scam where you wanted to get free dick cream.
Yeah.
And
Anyway,
the god machine's running Norton.
Speaking of that, the integrators.
Yep, let me scoot back in.
The
These are the
returning.
ones that are like, please, god machine, take me back.
We want to fix you.
And then what happened? Oh yeah, that's another. There's either take me back or please help, let us fix you.
Yeah, the returning to the god machine is theoretically easy. A demon can drop their cover, walk to active infrastructure, and surrender when the angels arrive. Yet few integrators do so, each of them delaying the reunion they claim to seek. They leave out their mortal lives, pursue their chosen objectives, and gradually come to understand the difference in their newfound will.
There's also probably the observation that any integrator that actually does, they probably usually
they cease to exist. That's the other thing, is like the idea of ceasing to exist for these angels, because remember, they developed a sense of self. They will lose what they were if they return to the god machine.
And that's
angels are
really
regularly the angels are regularly reprocessed back into the god machine. Their memories taken away from them, their self taken away from them, their bodies taken away from them, and then reconstituted again.
And the very common thing a god machine would do with an error program is to factory reset the machine.
Yes. So they mentioned that the idealists of Constantinople are different. Each of them vowed to return to the god machine tomorrow. Then the war happened. Everything changed. They had been abandoned, denied the redemption. And terror was the day.
And
they had to contemplate.
Fanatical.
Yeah, they had to contemplate what living without the god machine would mean. Some were able to return. Some left completely. And others thought that this was all their fucking fault.
Yep, that's another one.
Some are even begging for reclamation, because freedom is a hard habit to break. The remaining integrators are united in the better of the deserter. They exist primarily to spread the word of the god machine. The god machine's coming back, guys. We need to be prepared for that. We need to return, make us whole again.
And they're not particularly organized. They're just basically they form together as a mob, saying they will come.
Yeah. They also, the other thing about integrators is that they're turncoats that you can't deny help you, because they're still one of you at the end of the day. But they sabotage a lot of the other plans because they're worried about what it will do to the god machine. But they have their own heresies. The first of them is the Redeemers, which, as I mentioned, they think the god machine's broken
and that they can fix it.
Yeah, we can fix it, guys. Many of them are the ones that fell in Constantinople during the sack, oftentimes.
Either the Venetian sack, like the demons that were the integrators, a lot of the Redeemers probably came from the stock that came from 1204.
The next group is the Saviors, which are the ones who, in the face of the god machine's retreat, have taken it upon themselves to act in its stead.
Yep, since there's no god machine, we must act as it would.
They will reveal other demons, expose them to the remaining hunter angels, destroy their cults, drag their victims to reclamation facilities that they have discovered and guard. They refuse to rejoin the Godhead until they have saved the other demons.
Oh, and actually, I got it wrong. It's the other way around. Saviors were the old breed of these idiots.
Yes, they're the old ones, oftentimes.
The new ones are the Redeemers because,
they've seen the fall. So the Redeemers are disheartened but persist. The Reclaimers revel in their successes, but few of them opt for reclamation. As the God Machine is returning in, essentially, they start to disappear. However, the Saboteurs are always going to be around. The Saboteurs are the demons who often flame out the fastest because their instinct is to smash everything.
Yep, they won't stop. Can't stop.
They're warriors without a war at this point. Once the God Machine leaves,
and that's why they infiltrated the Janissaries and caused problems. Although they didn't cause them, the Janissaries started and they just kind of joined along because they need a war.
Yeah. Other times they join another compact because agendas aren't just a one and done thing. You can be both
your beliefs as you continue to become more familiar.
Also, you can just decide that you want to also help another agenda, or your agenda happens to be that I want to learn about the God Machine so I can smash it better. So I join the Inquisitors.
Or in the crazy case, you could even join the Integrators briefly because the same piece of infrastructure that they're trying to reclaim and repurpose for the God Machine, it'll allow me to perfectly understand exactly where the fail points are.
Yeah. Or I want to smash the God Machine enough so that it recognizes that I'm here and it'll take me back. Yeah, that's a valid Inquisitor. That's a valid Saboteur concept, actually. There's the Castilians who are here, but some demons flee as far as China to go and destroy God Machine infrastructure of the Saboteurs that are left behind. Others,
and they're active troublemakers. These are the ones that cause the most trouble.
The other ones are the ones that are starting to try to kill off the angels that are left, killing off cultists, sabotaging infrastructure.
Yep, the coursers.
On a bureaucratic level. The coursers are the next ones up. The hands are the ones that are the biggest problem, arguably. The Hand of Fatima. They devote themselves to investigating the demons of Istanbul. They essentially they oppose the Inquisitors and the Tempters, and they will occasionally assassinate those they deem dangerous. They claim all of their victims were sympathetic to the Integrators, and their actual crimes are more commonly just not telling them secrets or hiding machines.
They're going through a purity spiral.
Mind you, they're also very, very paranoid for a valid reason because
they're
the ones that. It's also because they're the only ones noticing that aren't there a lot more Integrators around than there used to be, and they're right about that. The coursers are the ones that will chase out other supernaturals often, and the Crusaders are the ones that plan to use the city as the start of the new hell. Eventually, the hands also dissolve. The Crusaders abandon their headquarters, but not their quest. And the number of Saboteurs
basically give up.
They mostly leave, aside from the subtle ones. The ones that throw a clog in the machine occasionally and then watch the wreckage and then note who tries to fix it and who leaves it be.
And then there's the Tempters.
Oh, the Tempters have a golden age here. Cults, dime a dozen. All the people that are willing to sell their soul to avoid slavery, or slaves desperate for escape. Oh my god, it is perfect. This is the time to make the pact. The Eagles are the survivors. They were the ones that were already here. And they were often the ones that were
because
yeah,
they were the kings of Shit Mountain because again, they were the trash kings.
Yes. So they realized now that they fought each other so long that they're like, anybody else coming in to take our shit heap now that it's gotten good when we were here first can fuck right off. They take the name, of course, the Eagles because of the double-headed eagle. It's funny because they're often now the new Turkish dignitaries and foreign merchants in the city.
Mainly, and they got it because, hey, they're first, and we're not allowing you fuckers to take this is our trash.
Yes. The immigrants have become different groups. A lot of them became specialists because the Eagles are more unified and outmaneuvered a lot of them. So these are the ones that will build gadgets to order. They might have property in the extra-dimensional world of Constantinople, and other things going on. There's also the fact that they generally don't kill each other. They prefer to cripple one another. They're little
And
shadow
they
wars.
become known as the Adepts.
Yeah. The conflicts between demons, of course, lead to new ones, which are also those that think that this is all bad for business, who become the mediators, who become essentially the ones that know what's going on in the city. They're the middlemen. Lastly, you've got the architects. The architects essentially have the idea that what if we take all of the infrastructure that's broken and reuse it?
And they do. In fact, they are the ones that build the bazaar.
Yes, they're the ones that create those extra-dimensional portals and weird hidey holes in the bazaar. Now, that being said, not a lot of them enjoy the fact as the God Machine starts to come back.
In fact, they actually try to delusionally ignore it.
Some of them, though, eventually take up arms and start to fight back. Some, though,
just go full cocaine, fuck it, might as well just binge.
Yeah. The Eagles and the Adepts
basically, when the God Machine rises up after Suleiman's death, they all together now.
Yeah, it's all together now. The Tempters are starting to play the game of everybody else. And honestly, there's other factions as well. The Sentinels.
The Sentinels.
Who are a random group of basically those who are looking at all this shit that's escaping because like the infrastructure is broken. Like, oh fuck, Bigfoot's out again.
Yep, contagious, like dreams that literally infect everyone.
Yeah, we need to destroy that. Then there's other demons.
Bodies that were slaves to power giant wheels. Yeah, they're walking around gurgling and
also,
fucking Akkadian.
Also, actual Dijin who are coming around asking for human sacrifices. They appeased them by finding orphans for them.
The four-headed schizophrenic spirit that powered the racetrack broke free. The one that those colors they had, like the whites, blues, and red. Yeah, they were at each head of this spirit, and now it's causing a four-way riot in the city.
Yeah, there's also the Nunci Lucis, or the Nunci Lucis. Basically, these are the ones that want to take all of the God Machine stuff under complete control. They are actually a front for another group. They're mainly the front for the integrators.
Yep. Actually, the Nunci Lucis are actually I think
they're angels.
They're a false flag of angels.
They're an angel false flag, yes.
I love it. Doorkeepers.
The doorkeepers are the ones that are looking around and seeing, oh, the stigmatics are around. Oh, yeah. The stigmatics are basically a unionized. They've unionized now. Oh fuck! It's like that one Reddit post about how like the one guy's like, help! All of my submissives have suddenly like formed a union. That's the stigmatics. The demons are the doms. So the doorkeepers are making contracts and other things to deal with the demons on equal footing. Now, they're also, of course, part of God knows how many factions that are going on in Constantinople at this time, and the Ottoman Empire is dealing with them as they do these sort of things off with their heads. The greatest danger, though, is that there might be still loyal cultists among the stigmatics that are doing shit.
The Constantinians.
Yeah. They, of course, claim that the emperor is around in a cave.
He's not decapitated. He's still around.
Supposedly.
No. Can you totally envision, like, that his decapitation was a glitch?
and there's
Constantine
now a
actually-
machine back.
And Constantine was actually an angel, like, or he died and an angel just took his skin as
Body
a
and
cover.
is that's possible.
Like
Some of the
Constantine
angels.
died and the angel's wearing his skin suit.
Speaking of that, one of the angels remaining is the collector, always looking for parts.
Oh hey, I remember this asshole from Darkest Dungeon.
Yeah,
Oh,
black
fuck this
terry blood
asshole
from a
again.
walking corpse. It takes them from demons. It takes them from stigmatics. It takes them from cryptids and other things that look in the
Stigmatics are
shadows.
the humans that timeshare, right?
No, they're the humans that can see the god machine's infrastructure.
Ah.
That's why they're stigmatic. They've seen the god.
They saw the clanking gears with spider legs crawl away from Topkapi Gate.
Yeah. The angels.
Do their eyes actually bleed when they see it?
They can.
Neat.
The collector's methods vary,
I just keep forgetting certain terms. I just remember the
but
basics.
they want to collect things.
Yeah, basically, he takes stuff for an
But
unscrutable
what
purpose.
the fuck are they doing? Because the weirdest thing is that they'll negotiate with demons occasionally. The
And that's
collector
why
is
people think
weird.
he might not be an angel. He might just be a really insane psychopomp.
Yeah. Or
a very, very close to falling angel.
basically, they might think he's an exile, an angel that hasn't fallen, but is not part of the god machine's plans anymore. They're just around. They're repeating what they were doing before infinitely.
And then there are the judges.
The judges are weird.
They're a pair of Turkish. It's a Turkish man and woman combo. They when they open their mouths, they don't have a mouth. It's just fire.
Yeah. They will ask. They look at deep into the souls of their targets with their black eyes and ask questions. The 3 questions are different each time, always intensely personal. They often refer to secrets that nobody could possibly know. The judges will prevent any attempt by the quarry to leave without answering their questions, even threatening violence if necessary. They also punish any attempts at dishonesty. The judges can always spot a lie, a half-truth, or deflection. Most of their targets are immediately released, confused, and traumatized after answering the 3 questions to the judge's satisfaction. Others are not. These unfortunates are forcibly restrained, who then get fucking melted and reshaped using those goddamn hammers. Some appear unchanged but find their personalities fundamentally different. Others are physically transformed, old wounds hammered whole, their whole faces and bodies alien to them. A few of these victims even harbor unnatural additions to their bodies, strange implants which might have no obvious function. And nobody's sure what the fuck they're doing.
They think maybe one of the more common ideas is it's for matrices or as sleeper agents.
Part of a cipher. They might think that the judges seem to be also looking at demons, but they don't seem to take them back.
They're not.
Which is what's
they don't
weird.
Seem as curious, but they will ask demon questions as well.
Some suspect they might be exiles trying to figure out what the fuck demons are.
Or alternatively, they're the equivalent of the terrible like robot help service.
They might be, yeah.
Like they're our contact us method. Maybe this is the God Machine's first attempt at doing like please answer this survey.
Also, you know how I mentioned that the God Machine infrastructure can include time warps and shit? This is kind of what Causal deals with. Causal is an angel that essentially decommissions all of this infrastructure, usually by violently tearing it from reality, violating causality so it never existed while ensuring its original purpose remains fulfilled. So most of this is contained. And
oh god, it's the shard thingies from Mage. This asshole's responsible for some of it.
Yeah. He's created some of that shit. He is inhuman in appearance, a mess of tendrils and arthropod limbs held aloft by vast mirrored wings. In place of eyes, 2 huge antennae jut from its face.
Be not afraid.
Branching like antlers. It has a loose relationship with time, the sounds of its wings and footfalls out of sync with its actual movements. It is able to travel impossible distances almost instantly by phasing between different dimensions and timelines.
I love this thing so much. It's literally a classical biblical angel, and I love it.
The other thing about it is that some people think that what it's doing is putting infrastructure into storage, possibly. Not destroying it, it's storing it for later.
Is it bad? I'm just envisioning, like, if they ever decide to do a doomsday scenario, can't you just envision Causal appearing and then just building a fucking gigantic Gundam or whatever out of the God Machine parts, like a super mech that's the size of the fucking moon?
Yeah, by the way, speaking of terrifying things, the Legion. The God Machine has not fully abandoned the city, and the Legion is a very dangerous and very active hunter angel, and it's very
And on
weird
top of
even by
that,
the standards of angels.
it's distributive. It's not a single entity.
It is a crowd of people. The bodies are often far from uniform when it finally reveals itself. Others become monstrous. Some remain mostly human. Nobody's sure what the fuck is happening. Some assert that it's actually a swarm of hunter angels that have essentially, with the limited processing power available to them, pooled their collective
Like the
resources
Geth.
together. Yeah. Others think that they're victims of the judges, possibly that sort of thing. Others think it might be a powerful cult that may be actually working with demons. And of course,
I have my idea, which is the God Machine's attempt at creating covers for one entity.
it
Like,
could
it
be.
orders an angel to create a variety of covers. And since it's an angel and doesn't really think, it just kind of does, and without
Yeah.
really thinking. So that's why some of them are a little better at not glitching.
A
Like,
vocal
it's a
minority.
failed experiment.
The thing is also that, like, everybody assumes that they're with the it's turncoats that are killing other demons. The problem is the integrators are like, no,
No, they kill
they
us
don't.
too.
They kill us. They don't bring us to be reclaimed. They destroy us.
I
They
like the angel attempt at cover idea. That sounds pretty neat.
yeah.
I also like the that's what the judges are doing idea.
This is also a good point here. The Legion is a brutal, unsubtle angel. Many of its ambushes and attacks are in public and leave bodies scattered on Constantine's streets. What Without the God Machine to hide or manufacture evidence, how does the city not devolve into terror and riots in response to each attack? More introspective and paranoid demons speculate the Legion cleans up after itself, dragging away
They
bodies and
don't.
silencing terrified eyewitnesses. But in truth, the Legion is an ongoing headache for the Sentinel faction trying to hide up all this fucking crazy shit that's happening in the city right now.
I actually really like all of the ideas are really neat, and that's what I like about this is besides like the ones that if you run into and it decides to destroy you, you're fucked, like Caziel.
Yeah. But Caziel, he might not. He doesn't care about you.
He doesn't. Like, now your shit that looks nice. He wants to take it since that was God Machine
That's
property.
all he wants to do.
Hippity
He's not.
hoppity, get off of my property, and he teleports
Yeah.
away all of your infrastructure, and you stop and you glitch
What's
down and cry.
What's even better is that you can Caziel in many ways help some other demons because the fragments of time that gets left over become things that can be used by demons.
I'm just
Some of them,
envisioning like this one demon loses all of his infrastructure, like quasi glitches because immense sadness. And then another demon just yoinks the time shards, like I'm going to use this to build a bazaar.
a lot of them use them to build covers because
This guy
there's
uses it to
people
build an
that are often
interdimensional
sometimes
house.
there's oftentimes like splinters of time paradoxes that are left behind that have personal records in them, so they just use those to help craft new identities
So while
without
this
having to
demon
jack up.
stares at his works in despairing, the other one just is like, "Yoink."
Yeah, this is without having to make a pact or hijack an angel, which is dangerous.
Or use your power to fabricate something.
Slowly fabricate something over time, which takes pacts, basically. You have to make pacts to get things. Playing the game here, there's ideas behind stuff, which is here's a thing, an old Byzantine church. What could be behind this? The bodies are in the foundations. The minds of the dead are trapped and reawakening. They reach out to the dervishes that tend to the mosque. Drawn by ghostly whispers and visions of blood, the dervishes are digging and finding the mortar red with blood, skeletons bricked behind it into walls, and the bodies are begging them to join us. Join us! And now the dervishes are a cult feeding orphans and slaves into the hungry brick of the foundations, nursing whatever the fuck is growing beneath it.
I actually like this XM Priory knockoff.
Yeah.
Kind of reminds me of the rats in the walls.
Yeah, like there's also the question. This is basically the section of like plot ideas.
Something is born, break down into usable parts. An example: the God Machine's active. So basically, this is the exact thing I mentioned. The broken piece of infrastructure, it becomes like this super demon almost.
Yes, you could very much have that be the case for this. There's a few other like ideas here, which is like there's the Falconer, which is a angel that that might not be an angel. The avenging spirit is known as Shahai-Nenji, the Falconer. There's a avenging spirit. This howling ghost wants revenge on the demon who tricked it, who stole and spent its life.
Where the fuck are you at?
Just below the calligrapher.
Oh, we skipped that? Okay.
Because the calligrapher is interesting, but it's not quite as interesting.
Okay, so they're returned.
Yeah.
Yep, angel.
Is it an angel? Is it a spirit? What the hell is happening with this? Because it's just attacking her. And it's a ghost. Like, is there a prison infrastructure in the city that is chasing down these demons? And this is a nice little bit of art here at the end for that.
I like that.
It's nice and creepy.
Oh, I just realized since if we're going with creepy, since we're dealing with condensed bodies, another neat idea is instead of it being actually that previous one with the cursed mosque.
Yeah.
It's condensed ectoplasm of it's the condensed ectoplasm of a dozen dead souls reconverting into like one spirit, one mind, one entity.
Yeah. There's also a through the gate. A well-known demon begins acting oddly, speaking of Castry only a few months away and loudly accusing respected demons of being traitors and turncoats. They appear to then decry their own accusations and apocalyptic proclamations, insisting their work of a double out to destroy their reputation. The reason is because the Golden Gate is weird. The God Machine prevents cataclysms as often as it causes them, right?
Yeah.
So the infrastructure beneath the Golden Gate is sort of an interdimensional crumple zone containing the spillover from Splinter timelines because of Causal, right?
Not only Causal, but the God Machine does a lot of experimenting.
Weird shit. Yeah. So the alternate demon is something that got out of the gate.
So you got a double. You got a double of the same entity.
So is this a God Machine plot, or is this another demon who transferred time?
Here's another really fucked up idea. It's you, but you're still an angel.
Oh fuck!
And you're wondering what the hell, and the entity is wondering what the hell because in the splinter he came from in the Golden Gate,
it's a hunter angel.
Yeah, not only was it a hunter angel, but yes, Constantinople fell, but the God Machine was able to repurpose it much quicker.
Yeah, or it never left.
And you were one of the craziest fuckers who actually, with nothing left, you accepted reclamation. And you have to deal with the fact that there's a part of you that is willing to give up everything.
Yeah, the hospital's one of the better ones, honestly. In the mid-16th century, the God Machine prepares to reestablish its power within the city, but years of abandonment have left its few remaining cults within the city weak and depopulated. So it decides to make a hospital near the mosques, and said they can heal the sick within 3 days. This is true, because, well, the God Machine can repair broken humans with arcane science, surgical techniques, and medicines that will not be understood for centuries.
Or in this case, maybe, like, you know how the judges can fix it? I mean, you just send simpler patterns of angels whose main purpose is just to do that.
Yeah, and the other thing is that they're using this to start to create sleeper agents. Glitching as their covers are compromised, attaching the wrath of the Legion. Inquisitors and Saboteurs investigate sleeper agents and begin to notice many of them appear to have fully recovered from chronic and incurable illnesses. It's not long before they make the connection to the hospital and discover the God Machine's plans.
So you have to make the tough decision for a person, not for a demon.
For a demon, it's like, fuck it, we need to burn this place to the ground. We need to burn down the hospital.
Just destroy it.
Fuck this orphanage. It's part of a God Machine plot. We're burning it down. No survivors.
Yeah. And
And-
the inspiration at the end, it's a little surprise, is Queen of Cities, which is a novel set around the siege.
Yep,
A
it's
place called Armageddon, another book.
which is another book about it. Ottoman details 5 generations of an English family living in Istanbul, starting with an artilleryman that arrived in 1448.
And then Petit, 1453.
Yeah, it's a Turkish movie about the siege.
Oh yeah, this one we're gonna have to do a Night Horrors book to properly explain the next book.
The next book is
Skinwalker book, baby.
Beneath the Skin. It's another demon book, but also a return of a line that many people thought that had been completely forgotten.
Skinwalkers.
Skin changers. And
yep.
It's if you're not noticing from the obsidian knife and all that, it's set
Aztec demon?
Aztec demon.
And skin changer Aztecs.
Yes, because remember, there was a lot of beliefs with the Aztecs about things like that. Maybe some of them were more true than others. On that note, I think that we have reached our end. And we've done this for about 2 hours exactly.
A little over, but that's fair.
We're pretty close. I mean, we're closer than we usually are.
Yep. So, let's see. Any other... The ultimate procrastinators? Yeah.
Yeah.
Integrators are basically that. And Saboteurs, the god machine might be inside this orphanage. Better destroy it. It's not just yeah. If you have a team of Saboteurs and an investigator, Inquisitor, that can happen. Like the Inquisitor basically screams out, "This is a plot by the God Machine," and you just destroy an unrelated orphanage. That actually can be a thing.
Yeah.
But all in all, this book, I really, I don't know if it's the best book because Grugmage exists.
Yeah.
Also
this is
China.
really good though.
I think it's probably my favorite in writing.
It explains everything you want to know.
It's
it
a
explains
unique setting, and while it's like the Viking Age in that it covers other, to me it feels like the main crux is around Mehmet's time.
Yes, and it also allows you to look at the idea of a demon, because remember, for a demon, 100 years is nothing.
Oh, yeah,
if you're still alive, you've probably moved on to a different cover. You've probably you will see things like that happen as a demon.
And that's why they, just in case they go over Mehmet's reign, not quite
And then
Bayezid, but
Suleiman.
Bayezid was fairly benign.
Yeah, and then of course they do
Suleiman.
Suleiman, because Suleiman is incredibly important.
Selim before then.
And Salim.
I
do love the advisor.
Of your freedom, and you're like, all this potential. Oh no, it's turning all into shit, and the God Machine's coming back.
And it also gives the idea of the cycle too, which I think is an important idea for a game like Demon.
Because there is an entire faction within the Inquisitors that believe that
of Constantinople that believe it is a cycle. And are they wrong? Is another good question. Because how many demons would have survived a previous cycle? Right? There's ideas like that that's thrown into this. There's other little details that they talk about. There's some of the really neat angel ideas, which do feel like Eldritch Abomination.
Causal is my favorite. I do
Causal
like the judges
great.
as well.
The judges are an interesting one.
Legion is interesting, but not my favorite. But still, it's a weird
and
concept.
The Collector is just that asshole from Darkest Dungeon.
That's literally, if I ever ran this game and I had an appearance with him, like he's like a client that you actually just negotiate with. Yeah, I would just use that fucking avatar.
Because also you have to remember that sometimes there's angels that do things with demons directly. The angels have their own agendas. They're not just only servants of the God Machine. They have free will of their own.
To some, they have the capacity for free will and free thought.
They need some of it to work. That's why an angel exists.
Yep.
They are their own distinct entities. They have their own agendas. They have their own likes. They're just still in contact and connection with the God Machine. And that's important to note, is that they might not always be hostile to you, because it's not in their programming to be hostile to you. That is not their job.
The panic of the Legion. You can see the Legion just kill a random person.
Yeah.
And leave you alone.
You might.
You might get a nice chat with the judges who just kind of ask you about.
They ask you questions and then they do nothing.
Because they actually mentioned the judges in particular when they ask demons, they seem more interested than normal in the questions.
They're very interested in demons, and they also, the thing is that they seem genuinely interested in what demons have to say to them. And they will often hint at things that demons need for their own use, which is like the cipher, which is sort of how the demons get more powerful, is unlocking your cipher with the keys, which are powers and revelations of the God Machine. Because maybe, and this is not an uncommon thought for some demons, is that the God Machine intended for you to fall for a reason. You are part of a greater plan, possibly.
Which could be funny. That actually leads to a funny scene in my head where you have one of the integrators, and they're like, they experience the judges, and they're kind of feeling that mixture of, oh, finally I can be taken back, and oh no, I'm going to be taken back. And then they get the help to make a cipher, and then they wait. The God Machine didn't abandon me. He wanted me to do this.
Like the God Machine wanted me to do this all along, right?
Like, wouldn't that be mind blowing as a person to want to come back, and you get the impression, oh no, this was the purpose.
No, the God Machine wants you to.
Was the purpose.
The God Machine wants you to be gone for a reason. Like there's a lot of stuff you can do with that.
How would that play with your head?
Yeah. Demon is a game that can get incredibly psychologically weird.
And just, like, really hilarious. Like, hey, do you want to just take control over a bunch of college kids and, I don't know, crash the mall, no survivors?
Yeah, sure, fuck it. Go for it.
Because the mall is part of the infrastructure. You got to fight the man. You got to go into the janitor's closet and stab the beating heart that's, providing nuclear reactor fuel to the turbines inside the mall. Yeah, if you want to go full fuck it Matrix goofball insanity, you can do that too.
Yeah. You can do there's a lot of philosophy. There's a lot of philosophy you can argue with Demon.
Although if you do the abortion factory, expect no one to want to play with you.
Yeah. Again, it's a dumb rules as written idea. You could do the same thing with a head cold.
But yeah, all in all, amazing. Amazing book. In this book compilation. And I'm currently thinking at the moment this is a good book in total. You'd have to have nothing but garbage from here on out for me to lower my opinion.
Yeah, as I said, this is probably one of the best setting books ever written.
In terms of writing, I think it's the best. In terms of concept, I'd still it's still a pretty good fight between it, Grugmage, and Three Kingdoms Changeling.
Yeah, I'm talking more overall. Like the Dark Eras book is probably one of the best setting books ever written, ever for anything.
Oh yeah, I just meant in terms of like the booklets we've read so far.
Oh yeah, this is probably one of the best so far.
It's the best written.
That is something I can't doubt. Demon has always lended itself to some very, very good writing. Admittedly, I've only read the core and a few other books, like skimmed really, but this is one of the things I read, and I'm like, this is pretty great. They mention and cover everything that you need to play in this setting. They don't pass judgment is the other thing.
Yeah.
It's not coming with an agenda, which is funny because it's a game entirely about agenda.
And it's written by a monster.
Yeah. Matt McFarland was one of the developers for Demon, one of the main concept developers, though it's very arguable that he was on a much shorter leash for Demon. And I don't think this section was written by him at all.
But again, the beauty of Demon is the concept of hell, which is your idealized state.
Hell personal. Is what you make it.
Yeah, it's what you make it. And you kind of get that with this, with the Constantinople book. In fact, actually, what I love is, and I love this sort of thing because you wipe away all the meta plot nonsense that was there.
It is a fresh blank slate as a setting, as a time period, as a city.
Now, admittedly, the longer you go in, the more you get confined, but hey, that's what happens with new administrations.
Yeah, that's what happens with new things in general.
And that's what I like about this. It is the if you're gonna run a demon setting, this is one of the ones I would probably recommend.
I would 100% recommend playing this. This is
It is newbie friendly.
yeah.
It gives you some great feelings of what it's like.
It gives you concepts. It gives you ideas.
Amazing
It gives you
adventure hooks and weird things.
And it's a city where basically you could, as they mention, you could have a Bigfoot running around in the city right now. It's that fucking crazy. You could have the reptilians coming out of the woodwork because they just don't like being seen right now, and they're very, very nervous. Yes, there are stats for reptilians and demon, and no, they're not the royal family. They're just kind of there.
You could have the spirit energy generation device that was made by the God Machine spontaneously exploded. Ghosts and spirits run wild through the city.
Yeah, and you've got to deal with this because, well, that's the thing about hell, right? Because there is no god, and you are now the new god. You must deal with this shit.
You have to deal with a bunch of Prometheans who are told by a vision in their head, which may be a God Machine plot.
Or just a helpful Quashalam. It could be a Quashalam helping them try to become human. Or it could be the God Machine planning to destroy you all. Who knows?
Yeah, because the thing is, and that's another cool thing, all of the other creatures they list, I mean, maybe not werewolves so much, since I mean, kind of, yeah, but kind of not really.
I mean, the God Machine does interact with spirits.
Well, no, I mean, like, in general, like, with vampires in the setting, it's Thunderdome right now, and this is the time where Vlad is not a vampire yet.
Yeah, that covenant doesn't exist.
Like, you could become one of Vlad's first Ordo Dracul member.
You could be the one that finds him, like, hanging out after that battle, being like, yep, sup, I'm a vampire now. Here's the ropes, Vlad. We've got to go.
You can teach Vlad Tepes before he kills you.
Or you could have a game where literally you're Vlad Tepes' like first gang of disciples, and you're having to learn all this shit, and it can go completely wrong.
Or hilariously, if you want to go ultra giga brain, one of you get the honor of playing Vlad himself.
That you could run a
Vlad
game.
as a fletchling.
You could run a game with Vlad and his bitches. Yes, you could. Which is,
I mean, everyone
fun
would fight over it, so I wouldn't recommend having a player play it, but
I wouldn't also recommend having a GM play it because that could be really. It's hard to get Dracula right.
Oh no, you just play him like motherfucking Dracula because he's the real Dracula.
He's Count motherfucking Dracula.
Yeah, you just play him.
Oh man, that is one of the best. I know they released it sort of as an April Fool's joke, but that sheet and that explanation of Count motherfucking Dracula is so good.
But with Werewolf, you just took the city and countryside away from the pure, and now you got to do the wrangle, and especially since there's these weird clockwork men, and there's all this weird shit that's busting out. These guys are behind all these spirits, like escaping the city.
Yeah, you have to deal with the fucking demons too. Mage is basically, again, it's Thunderdome here.
Yeah, well, no. You're just looting, and then there's this serial killer monster.
It belongs in our museum, not yours.
No, it just belongs in my study.
Yeah.
And that's a strong word for a mage.
Yeah, changelings.
Well,
a
weird thing happened, and you're here. I guess that's kind of the weaker one. The mummy one's amazing. You're literally being led there to die.
Which I think is a really good thing of can you get out of a trap. It's Escape from Constantinople. Which, as a mummy running low on energy, sounds fucking terrifying when there are things that want to eat you.
And they're
actually eat you. And they're stronger than you. And they're behind every goddamn corner.
And but then you're going to get the guy who's like, I made Snake Plissken, but a mummy.
Escape. I would be 100% behind that. That's fine. Let's go for that. Let's do it. It's Big Boss in Snake Plissken's Wild Adventures.
Escaping Constantinople, where it turns out the Sultan's vizier is literally the devourer in a human form.
Yeah, it's a Bane mummy. Congratulations.
And the best part about this book, no beast!
No beasts! They don't mention beasts at all. This was probably in development before Beast was ever released. I hope to God it was.
Or better yet, when Beast was released and they realized that it was terrible.
Yeah, there's like nope.
Or maybe
There's
the
of course
writer hated Beast. He's like, nope.
nope. I do think that we need to get Greg's opinion on this if he's still alive.
I think he's dead.
Greg. Greg.
He's dead, Jim.
No, we lost him. Oh.
He was
think he
was a
probably-
sleepy boy. Anyway, since
Yeah.
I'm also a sleepy boy, I think we'll cut it here since it's exactly 2.5 hours. And I'm
We
glad
did it
you
pretty
guys
well.
at least sat around long enough to kind of enjoy this.
Yeah. This is one of my favorite parts of the book, honestly. I think it is a really, really good setting. I think it's well written. I think it works. Again, I think it's amazing. I think it's flat out amazing.
Amazing book. I already gave my reasons, but TLDR, best written easily of all of the books we've covered in this Dark Eras. And on top of that, great concept, and it really does show you how interesting Demon is.
Yeah. If this is someone's first introduction to it, I think it's really great.
And as for Greg's opinion, since he's a corpse in the ground, I'm gonna have to communicate with the dead. I'm gonna have to use an old mage's trick. I'm gonna put two forks together in an X pattern and use it like the world's worst divining rods. Here we go. He just told me to go fuck myself. Okay. He's sleepy. See you guys.
See you guys.